Chapter 3168. Oh, okay. Master, is this person also a cultivator? What is his strength level? Pure Yang asked. This person is an Earth-class master. I don't know exactly how strong he is now, but I think it's definitely not Heaven class. Zhong Pingliang said, send someone to kill him. Any Heaven class master should be enough, right? Okay, but to be on the safe side, it's better to send a master with the strength of the peak late stage of Heaven class. With Lin Yi's lesson this time, we have to be careful. It's better to be safe than sorry. Pure Yang suggested. You're right. Find the person, I'll explain it to him. Zhong Pingliang pondered for a moment and nodded. The everyday sect had a lot of experts. A pure Empyrean had died, and the one who came this time was a junior apprentice of Pure Yang Empyrean's generation. He was called Pure Cold Empyrean. In this generation, anyone who reached the Heaven rank would be given the title of Empyrean. Pure Cold greets the Supreme Sect Master, Mad Dragon Patriarch. Pure Cold Master saw Zhong Pingliang and quickly bowed respectfully. Pure Cold, this time, I want you to help me kill a person. Pure Yang has told you, right? Zhong Pingliang asked. Replying to Mad Dragon Patriarch, I already know. The person I killed is called Tang Yuqi, a detective who returned from overseas. Pure Cold Master nodded and said. Okay, the purpose of your trip this time is to kill this Tang Yuqi. Don't get involved in other things. Do you hear me? Especially avoid Lin Yi. You know about the Purine, right? Pingliang paused for a moment before asking. I know. Don't worry, Mad Dragon Patriarch, I will hide from Lin Yi. I also heard about Lin Yi's matter. I'm not a match for this kind of person at all. He can kill 2 masters with the strength of the peak late stage of Heaven class. It's definitely easy to deal with me, so I won't be stupid enough to die. Pure Cold Master said. That's good. I don't want our everyday sect to suffer any more losses. Zhong Pingliang said, when you see Lin Yi, you must hide far away. Don't provoke him. Otherwise, your death will be in vain, and I won't be able to avenge you for the time being. Yes, I understand. I'll be careful, August Patriarch Wild Dragon. When I see Lin Yi, I hide far away. Pure Cold Master was actually quite afraid. Even if Zhong Pingliang didn't say anything, he wouldn't dare to provoke Lin Yi casually. Lin Yi wasn't a normal person at all. Whoever provoked him would die. He hadn't lived long enough. All right. Go ahead and investigate before taking action. Zhong Pingliang waved his hand, indicating that Pure Cold Skymaster could go. All right. Pure Cold Empyrean cupped his fists and retreated. Only Heavenly Venerate Pure Yang and Zhong Pingliang were left. Pingliang stood up and said to Pure Yang, let's go. Come with me to see Pao Zi. As long as Lin Yi doesn't die, he'll be able to survive. I wonder if he'll be able to overcome his inner demons. Yeah, Napeo is the hope of our sect. Don't go on like this. Heavenly Venerate Pure Yang said worriedly. Then what should we do? Zhong Pingliang frowned. There's still a way to burn the boats. Heavenly Venerate Pure Yang thought about it and said, Master, this method has a certain degree of danger, but it can also succeed. Oh. What method? Tell me. Zhong Pingliang was instantly interested. As long as Zhang Naipeo could recover, taking a little risk was worth it. The way now is to provoke him again. Attack him with all your strength. If you attack him too much, you might be able to stimulate the desire for revenge in his body. This way, he can also walk out of his inner demons. Heavenly Venerate Pure Yang said. What about the consequences? Zhong Pingliang asked. If it doesn't succeed, then Naipeo will sink deeper and deeper. It might be even more difficult for him to walk out of this shadow of failure. He'll be in his inner demons for the rest of his life. Heavenly Venerate Pure Yang said. In that case. If it's not good, it'll at most be worse. But the current situation isn't much better than worse. There's no harm in trying. Zhong Pingliang thought about it for a moment and nodded. Alright, let's go and try it now. As long as we exaggerate Lin Yi's capabilities and tell Naipeo about Pure Yin's death, it'll be enough. Heavenly Venerate Pure Yang said quickly after seeing that Zhong Pingliang had agreed. In fact, he wanted to give it a try as well. If it didn't work, he'd die trying. He was just afraid that Zhong Pingliang wouldn't agree to it. Now that Zhong Pingliang agreed, there was no problem. As they spoke, the two arrived at Naipeo's resting place. They opened the door and saw Naipeo sitting quietly on the bed with a dull look in his eyes. It seemed like Naipeo was still stuck in his own inner demons and hadn't come out. Pow, I'm here to see you. Zhong Pingliang sighed and said, I wanted to kill Lin Yi and avenge you. I didn't expect Lin Yi to be so strong. Even Pure Yin died in Lin Yi's hands. Lin Yi can actually kill 2 Sky-class late-phase peak masters at the same time. I really don't know what to do with him now. That's right, Naipeo. Lin Yi is very talented, and the arts he practices are very magical. He can fight enemies above his level. He's the number 1 in every level. It was the same when he was at Mystic, Earth, and now Sky. Ordinary cultivators like us are not the best in a certain realm. Our only hope is you. You can be the best in a certain realm. Our hopes are all pinned on you. Only when you grow up can you get rid of Lin Yi. Otherwise, we are not his match. Pure Yang Heavenly Venerates said helplessly. Ah. No. Naipeo suddenly roared and stood up, holding his head. I can't accept this. I want to kill Lin Yi. I want to work hard for Liang Bro. With that, Naipeo looked like he was in pain as he spun around on the ground, screaming non-stop. Zhong Pingliang and Pure Yang looked at each other, both seeing relief in each other's eyes. Naipeo had walked out. As long as he regained his confidence, his desire for training, and his hatred for Lin Yi, everything would be fine. As expected, after a while, Naipeo's eyes became clear again, no longer cloudy and dim. Instead, they were filled with determination and determination. Liang Bro, Shifu, I will work hard. I will train hard and kill Lin Yi. For Master Purine, for Liang Bro, I will kill Lin Yi. Naipeo said firmly. Chapter 3169. Don't worry, Liang Bro, I don't know what happened to me before, but it was like I was possessed. I know my weakness now. I was too careless before, and I couldn't kill Lin Yi straight away. Instead, I let him drag things out, unlike Lin Yi, who always ambushes, attacks first, or tries to stall for time. I, on the other hand, was too proud and complacent. Through this incident, I've learned one thing: nothing is real, only defeating the enemy is real. There's no need to talk too much, just start the fight. Naipeo said. Great, Naipeo, you've finally figured out what it means to fight. But, who hasn't been young and arrogant before? I have it, and so do Purine and Pure Cold. It's just that we're lucky that we didn't encounter a freak like Lin Yi. Our strength can suppress the other party, but now, with Lin Yi, the number 1 person who isn't weaker than you, we can only place our hopes on you. Pure Yang Empyrean said. Yeah, Pow, you need to train hard, that's the only way for us to have hope. Pin Liang smiled as he patted Naipeo's shoulder. Although Chunin was dead, Nipeo had walked out of his heart demon and returned to reality. This was something worth celebrating. As for the pure Yang Sky Master, he went to call Feng Tianhu. "Chunyang, how is it? What did the elders say?" Feng Tianhu finally received Chunyang's call as he waited anxiously. "Feng Tianhu, the elders said that we shouldn't get involved in this for now. After all, Chun Yin has just fallen, and we don't have enough people to deal with Lin Yi. We haven't figured out Lin Yi's situation yet, so we'll just be sending ourselves to our deaths if we act rashly. So, you should think of a way yourself," Chunyang said. "Ah. Think of a way myself." Feng Tianhu sighed. In fact, he had guessed this would happen. After all, the everyday sect wasn't idiots, they'd just kill someone. Wasn't that just courting death? However, I can remind you that in the ancient times, there was a blood-cloth Yellow Spring sect. It was an assassin group. I think you should know about it. If you don't have any good people on hand, you can hire them to work for you." Pure Yang Heavenly Venerates said no more. "All right. That is all I have to say." Blood-clothed Yellow Spring sect. Feng Tianhu's eyes suddenly lit up. Yes, why didn't he think of it before? If he asked the Blood Underworld sect to deal with Lin Yi, it would save him a lot of trouble. Thinking of this, Feng Tianhu said, "I understand. Thank you for your advice, Heavenly Venerable Pure Yang. Good luck." Empyrean Pure Yang hung up and didn't say anything else. He was afraid that this matter would bring trouble to himself and bring him trouble. After Feng Tianhu hung up the phone, he immediately found the contact number of the Blood Cloth Underworld sect and dialed the phone number of the Blood Cloth Underworld sect's manager, Grandmaster Yin Sen. At this moment, Grandmaster Yin Sen was calling Old Man Lin to report what happened here. He told Lin Dongfang about how Pure Yin Heavenly Venerate and Dongfang Yinxing teamed up to deal with Lin Yi. "Old Master, don't blame us for not reporting back. Why didn't you act on your own? You did nothing wrong. Don't blame yourselves." Lin Dongfang was also shocked and broke out in a cold sweat. If two peak late-stage heaven stage experts really went to cause trouble for Lin Yi, how would Lin Yi deal with it? Wouldn't he be dead for sure? But why didn't Mo Kongwen calculate it before? Why didn't he make a move? This made Lin Dongfang very puzzled. Yes. Could it be that Mo Kongwen had already calculated the factor of the Blood Cloth Underworld sect? Thinking about it, Lin Dongfang felt that it was very possible. After all, Mo Kongwen could even calculate the inheritors clearly. Now that it had come true, under some kind of coincidence, with the right place and identity, Lin Yi could establish a relationship with all the inheritors. Now that he thought about it, Lin Dongfang felt that it was a little unbelievable. This kind of divination technique that could change fate was no longer a simple divination technique. It was almost the same as the means of the gods. After we killed him, we asked Master to help us keep it a secret. In fact, we wanted to give this credit to Master. This way, Master can temporarily be safe for a period of time. Grandmaster Yin Sen said. "You guys did well." Lin Dongfang said, "However, don't interfere too much. An appropriate amount of danger is still beneficial to little Yi's growth." "We understand." This time, we had no choice. As long as Master can handle it, we will definitely not interfere. Grandmaster Yin Sen said. On the other side, Grandmaster Yin Sen had just ended his phone call with Lin Dongfang when his phone rang again. Those who had his phone number were people from the ancient level. If it was an assassination mission from other levels, they would contact other people in the sect. "Hello, this is Grandmaster Yin Sr. Grandmaster Yin Sen picked up the phone. "Grandmaster Yin Sen, I am Feng Tianhu from the ancient Feng family. I want to do business with your sect." After Feng Tianhu picked up the phone, he went straight to the point. Because the Feng family and the Blood Cloth Underworld sect had no relationship, it was better to get straight to the point. Oh. Who do you want to kill? The ancient Feng family. Do you still need our Blood Cloth Underworld sect to do it? Grandmaster Yin Sen asked with some doubts. I want to kill someone personally. It has nothing to do with the Feng family. Feng Tianhu said, so please help me. Oh. What's the strength of this person? Grandmaster Yin Sen asked. Early heaven stage. Feng Tianhu replied. 1 billion. Grandmaster Yin Sen gave a price. Of course, this price was considered fair. It was basically the price of friendship in the ancient level. Okay, I'll send this person's information to your mailbox. Feng Tianhu didn't mention the fact that Lin Yi could fight an enemy above his level. If he did, it would only make the price of the assassination even higher. Anyway, Feng Tianhu didn't lie to the Blood Cloth Underworld sect. This Lin Yi was originally an expert in the early heaven stage. Soon, Grandmaster Yin Sen's mailbox received an email. However, when Grandmaster Yin Sen saw the information, his face suddenly changed. He was so angry that he dialed Feng Tianhu's number again. Grandmaster Yin Sen, how is it? When can you carry out the mission? Feng Tianhu thought that Grandmaster Yin Sen called to confirm the mission, so he didn't think much and asked directly. Chapter 3170. Aw. Feng Tianhu froze. What aw? Don't you know that Lin Yi can fight those stronger than him? Our heaven-class mid-phase master died in Lin Yi's hands, and I heard that 2 heaven-class late-phase peak masters also died in Lin Yi's hands. Do you want us to be cannon fodder or what? The Yinsen ancestor didn't give Feng Tianhu a chance to interrupt. This. But Lin Yi is indeed a heaven-class early-phase master. Feng Tianhu's forehead was covered in cold sweat. So the Blood Yellow Spring sect had already tried to assassinate Lin Yi. Still didn't succeed. And they were well informed. Lin Yi had just killed 2 heaven-class late-phase peak masters, and the Blood Yellow Spring sect already knew about it. Although he knew that the news would definitely spread after he told the Dongfang family, he didn't expect it to be so fast. It seemed like the Blood Yellow Spring sect's intelligence agency couldn't be underestimated. Feng Tianhu, I'm telling you, we won't take this job. Not only that, you will also become an unwelcome person in the Blood Yellow Spring sect. You better be careful, stay at home and don't go out. If I see you, I'll definitely kill you. The Yinsen ancestor threatened, you dare to trick us. If you said it was Lin Yi earlier, we wouldn't take this mission even if it was 10 billion. Yes. Yes, I'm really sorry, it's my negligence. Feng Tianhu was depressed. He didn't kill Lin Yi and instead offended the Blood Yellow Spring sect. It was all his fault for trying to save money, but now the Blood Yellow Spring sect wanted to kill him instead. Humph. The Yinsen ancestor hung up the phone. He threatened Feng Tianhu so that he wouldn't come out and target Lin Yi, but he couldn't make it too obvious, so he could only threaten him. Dark Phoenix Palace. After Chu Mengyao officially became the palace master of Dark Phoenix Palace, she settled down in the Dark Phoenix mountain range, in the house that Yi Wan used to live in. Mengyao had accidentally consumed a Dark Phoenix before, and the Dark Phoenix had changed her constitution, making her the same as the founder of the Dark Palace. So on the first night of her stay in the Dark Phoenix mountain range, the Dark Phoenix mountain range Mengyao successfully accepted the inheritance. That night, the Dark Phoenix mountain range shone with a golden light, illuminating the galaxy. All the disciples of the Dark Phoenix Palace felt this strange phenomenon. Under the leadership of the Grand Elder, they gathered at the training field of the Dark Phoenix Mountain Range to observe the strange phenomenon. He has accepted the inheritance. Elderly, Yao Yao's physique is really unparalleled, unexpectedly on the first day. He accepted the inheritance. The senior elder was extremely emotional. At this moment, tears streamed down her face. Even though she was a snobbish and mean person, one had to admit that she had no selfish motives. She had dedicated her entire life to the sect. Of course, it couldn't be said that this was right. Elderly didn't agree with the Supreme Elder's character, but there was nothing he could do. Everyone had their own way of doing things. He couldn't ask the Supreme Elder to change it. Fortunately, Meng Yao had accepted the inheritance, and her position in the Dark Phoenix Palace had risen. She was truly below one person and above 10,000 people. Moreover, this was just a saying. With the Miss current position, the Grand Elder might not dare to refute her words. The two were in the Dark Phoenix Palace. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they were on equal footing. Elder Li's position rose as well. He was Yiwan's supporter, so naturally, he was also Meng Yao's supporter. The Grand Elder also used him again, and his position in the Dark Phoenix Palace was only below the Grand Elder and Meng Yao. Grand Elder, let's go get the mantra of the Dark Palace and let Yao Yao choose one to cultivate. Elder Li reminded. After accepting the inheritance, she could officially start training, and the training speed would be very fast. Alright, we'll go now. The Grand Elder nodded and went to the library with Elder Li. In actuality, the Dark Phoenix Palace had two high-level arts of the gold element. One was called the Art of the Golden Rooster Cry, and the other was the Art of the Phoenix Silkworm. The Grand Elder and Yuan both practiced the Art of the Golden Rooster Cry, and the Art of the Phoenix Silkworm could only be trained by the inheritor. Yuan was training while waiting for the inheritance, so naturally she chose the Art of the Golden Rooster Cry. I wonder if Yao Yao can train the Art of the Phoenix Silkworm. Elder Li said hesitantly as he looked at the two arts the Grand Elder took out. I hope so. The Grand Elder also hoped that Meng Yao could train in the Art of the Phoenix Silkworm. This art was stronger than the Art of the Golden Rooster Cry. Although both could allow one to break through to Sky Class Late Phase Peak, the Art of the Phoenix Silkworm had more benefits. However, not everyone could train in this art. Up until now, only the founder of the Dark Phoenix body could train in this art. The others couldn't. Meng Yao, on the other hand, had the same physique as the Grandmaster, and the way she received it was the same. Naturally, the Grand Elder was looking forward to it, hoping that Meng Yao could train in the Silkworm Phoenix art as well. After choosing the arts, the two went up to the Dark Phoenix mountain range. At this moment, the golden light was starting to dim, and the sky was starting to turn white. Morning was almost here. When the golden light disappeared completely, the Grand Elder and Elder Li looked at each other, knowing that the inheritance had ended. And so, the two pushed the door open and entered Meng Yao's room. Meng Yao was sitting cross-legged on the cushion, resting, evidently still in the illusion of the inheritance. The two didn't rush her, and they didn't disturb her. They just stood there and waited. After another hour or so, Meng Yao slowly woke up. She opened her eyes and saw the Grand Elder and Elder Li, but she didn't stand up to greet them. She was the palace master, and she didn't need to greet the Grand Elder. Grand Elder, Elder Li, you're here. Meng Yao said. I've received the inheritance, and the feeling is the same as in my dream. It's the same as in the records of the Dark Palace. This feeling, it's so mysterious. Can I start cultivating now? That's right. The Grand Elder was pleasantly surprised. Elder Li and I came here this time to prepare the mantra for you. I have 2 mantra here, you can choose. With that, the Grand Elder passed the 2 manuals to Meng Yao. Chapter 3171. This. The name's a little weird, but they're all good stuff. The Grand Elder smiled. Elderly, and I suggest that you practice the art of the silkworm phoenix summoning. It's better than the golden rooster cry. It's the best one we have, and it's the one that's most compatible with the inheritor. Oh. What did this mantra mean? What's the benefit? Meng Yao thought about it. The name of the art Lin Yi was practicing was pretty lame, so she picked up the art of the silkworm phoenix summoning and asked. This mantra is said to be a mantra created by the silkworm in ancient times. Our ancestor discovered that this mantra is very compatible with the dark phoenix physique of our Dark Knight Palace, and after she cultivated it, she was indeed very powerful. But we don't have the dark phoenix body, so we weren't able to practice it. The Grand Elder explained. Silkworm. Who's that? Meng Yao blinked. Silkworm, the wife of Emperor Xianyuan in the ancient times. He had 4 concubines and 10 concubines, and Silkworm was his first wife. The Grand Elder explained. Ah. Silkworm is Xuanyuan's wife. The eldest miss blushed without warning. She was a little shy, but also a little sweet. This caused the Supreme Elder and Elderly to be a little dumbfounded. Palace Lord, what's going on? Meng Yao was quick to connect the dots. Lin Yi's art was called the Art of Dragon Mastery, and hers was called the Art of the Silkworm Phoenix Summoning. Xianyuan and Silkworm, Dragon and Phoenix, all corresponded with each other. Didn't that mean that she and Lin Yi corresponded with each other as well? The miss started blushing at the thought. Silkworm was Xuanyuan's first wife. Was she the same? Yes, it should be. They kissed before, and that meant they were in love. The miss started thinking about random things. Ahem. Palace Master, what's wrong? Elderly couldn't help but ask. Ah. Nothing. Meng Yao, of course, couldn't say what she was thinking. She shook her head quickly. I'm training in the silkworm phoenix art. It's pretty good. The name's pretty good too. Of course. The Grand Elder was puzzled as well. Meng Yao was just saying that the name was weird. Why did it sound nice now? But the Grand Elder didn't want to know about these things. It was enough as long as Meng Yao practiced the best arts. Yao Yao, this mantra, we haven't practiced it before. You have to figure it out yourself. If you don't understand anything, you can find us to discuss it together. Alright, I understand. Meng Yao nodded, her expression returning to normal. Then Elderly and I will return first. The very high elder said, You have successfully accepted the inheritance. This is an important piece of news. I will go inform the sect disciples and congratulate them. Alright. Meng Yao stood up and sent the Grand Elder and Elderly off before returning to the cushion. She looked at the silkworm phoenix art in her hands, a sweet smile on her face. She might not be by Lin Yi's side for now, but the next time she went back, she believed that she'd be strong enough to be Lin Yi's right hand. At that thought, Meng Yao opened up the silkworm phoenix art in her hands and started reading the mantra. The art of silkworm exorcism phoenix was a line of large words, and below those words was the text of the mantra. First stage, Sky Silkworm. Mortals are like ants, how can they change the path of Tao and control the world? Meng Yao frowned slightly at the tone, but continued reading anyway. The first stage of the phoenix summoning art was separated into early, mid, and late stages. Of course, there weren't any clear boundaries, and there wasn't any level barrier either. She'd be able to reach the completion of the first stage as long as she kept accumulating and working hard. After the first stage, there was the second, the third. But Meng Yao didn't look at them. To her, mastering the first stage was the most important thing. Back in the common world, Meng Yao had always wanted to become a practitioner, and now that she had the chance, she didn't rest. She started training day and night. training didn't take time, and in the blink of an eye, Meng Yao had spent more than half a month in the Dark Phoenix mountain range. Perhaps it was because of the abundance of energy in the mountain range, and the fact that she was an inheritor, her training speed could be said to be 1,000 miles a day. The silkworm phoenix art wasn't easy to train, but the Miss Willpower was amazing. She didn't need to sleep to train every day, and it was similar to Lin Yi's willpower when he first started on the path of cultivation. It was this godlike speed of training and her hard-working attitude that made the Grand Elder value Meng Yao more and more. She saw Meng Yao as the hope of the sex resurgence. In such a short period of time, Meng Yao had already gone from a normal person to the peak of the late phase of the golden class. There was no level barrier for inheritors who successfully received the inheritance, so not only was Meng Yao's training fast, but she also had no bottlenecks. As long as she broke through with the mantra, it would be very easy for her to become a sky class. But the Dark Phoenix mantra of the Dark Palace wasn't that easy to train. Meng Yao may be a golden class late phase peak now, but the mantra was still stuck at the first stage, and she hadn't broken through to the second stage. As a result, Meng Yao's training speed slowed down as well. The first stage of the mantra couldn't absorb the energy from the heaven and earth anymore, and it wasn't enough for her to break through to the early phase of the mystic class. So, Meng Yao chose to take a break for now. Ever since Meng Yao stepped onto the path of cultivation, she could be considered to have full control over the Dark Palace. The Grand Elder didn't interfere with Meng Yao's matters anymore, and Meng Yao could communicate with the outside world as she wished. The first thing Meng Yao wanted to do after finishing her training was to call home. As for who to call first, Meng Yao didn't even think about it before calling the villa's number. In fact, Meng Yao had wanted to call Pingzhan and ask her mother how Yiwan was doing, but she couldn't help but dial the villa's number when she picked up the phone. Chapter 3172. Although, during these days of training in the Palace of Darkness, Meng Yao would sometimes regret not understanding her feelings earlier when she returned to reality from her training state. She didn't say it until they were separated, but Meng Yao was glad that she wouldn't be able to understand her feelings if it wasn't for this separation. The phone rang a few times, but no one picked up. After a while, it turned into an automated message. Hello, this is the home of the universe's super invincible cute genius prophecy secret detective, Shu 007. If you want to leave a message for Shu, please press 1. If you want to leave a message for Shield Bro, please press 2. If you want to leave a message for Yao Yao sis, please hang up, she's on a long trip. Pfft. Meng Yao almost burst out laughing at the last line. She knew the first few lines of the autograph, since she'd had it at home. The second line was obviously Yushu's doing. But Meng Yao was puzzled. Where did the people in the villa go? Why wasn't anyone picking up? Meng Yao looked at the time subconsciously, realizing that it was already midnight. She trained day and night, and didn't really care about the time. In the Palace of Darkness, there were disciples on duty day and night, and the strong practitioners basically used training as a replacement for sleep. But, even if it was midnight, Lin Yi should still be picking up the phone. Besides, if it was midnight, there should be someone in the house, right? Meng Yao dialed Lin Yi's number curiously, wanting to ask him where he was. On Lin Yi's side, he had Chen Tian and San Wang take care of Pure Yin and Dongfang Yinqing's bodies. Not long after he returned to the villa, his phone rang. Seeing the familiar caller ID, Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. This was the miscalling. Yao Yao. Lin Yi picked up, a little surprised. And, it's me, Lin Yi. Are you alright? Meng Yao's voice was calm, just like how she always sounded when she called Lin Yi. There was a natural warmth in her voice. I'm fine, how about you? Lin Yi didn't tell Meng Yao about the 2 Sky Class late phase peak masters. He didn't want Meng Yao to worry. Since it was over, it didn't matter anymore. I'm fine too. My position in the Palace of Darkness is even higher than Xiao Zhao's in the Ice Palace. The Grand Elder doesn't really care about me now, so I'm quite free. Meng Yao was a little proud of herself. It seemed that she wasn't the most useless one. At the very least, she was pretty good among all of Lin Yi's women. That's good. Lin Yi nodded. This was what he was most worried about. He'd be relieved if Meng Yao was fine in the Palace of Darkness. You've already started training. How's the progress? It's pretty good. The mental cultivation method I cultivate is called the art of silkworm driving phoenix. It has a strange reputation, just like your mental cultivation method. Both are weird. Meng Yao didn't mention the connection between the two, but she believed that with Lin Yi's intelligence, he'd be able to figure it out easily. The miss knew how to hint now. Art of silkworm driving phoenix. Lin Yi paused. She knew who the silkworm was. She was the wife of Xianyuan Emperor, and the name of Meng Yao's mental cultivation method was very similar to his own. Lin Yi didn't believe that Meng Yao didn't notice it, and he felt that the miss was hinting at something as well. He smiled. Yeah, it's pretty much the same as mine. Maybe it's the same type of mental cultivation method. Who knows, we might even be able to train together. Die. The miss blushed a little. Although she confessed her feelings to Lin Yi, it was just a confession after all. The two of them didn't get together after that. Although there were some flirtatious moments in their lives, they weren't in a relationship. The miss was still very shy at this moment. She wasn't used to Lin Yi's teasing. I'm just joking. I'm a golden class late phase peak now. It's about the same as when you first came to Songshan. Oh. That's fast. Lin Yi was a little surprised. Not bad. The miss said proudly. Right, where's Shu? Why didn't you guys pick up the phone? Oh, we were doing something in the yard, not in the villa, Lin Yi said vaguely. You? With Shu? In the yard in the middle of the night. Meng Yao's tone was a little weird. Lin Yi, don't tell me you were having sex with Shu in the wild. Ugh. Lin Yi paused. He didn't know if he should laugh or cry. However, he couldn't blame Meng Yao for thinking too much. Lin Yi's tone was indeed a little mysterious. It made people suspicious. Lin Yi smiled. Are you jealous, Yao Yao? Jealous? Wouldn't you have died if you wanted to be jealous? What did Xiao Xiao, Xinyan, and Jing Jing say? Meng Yao said impatiently. Besides, it's not a big deal if it's Shu. She always wants to be a small wife. I'm used to it, man, it's just 2 guests. Let's go check it out. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Shu and I, if we wanted to do something, it would have happened a long time ago. There's no need to wait for you to leave. It's not like you don't know what kind of person Shu is. She doesn't need to hide from you if she wants to do something. That's true. Meng Yao nodded. She felt that she was overthinking. As long as you're fine. I'll give my dad a call and Shu a call. If you need anything, just text me. I'll turn off my phone when I'm cultivating. I'll contact you after I finish cultivating and see your text. Okay, Yao Yao. Take care. Lin Yi said. Alright, I'm fine here. Don't worry. Meng Yao smiled. After hanging up, Lin Yi relaxed a little. It seemed that Meng Yao was doing well in the Palace of Darkness. Lin Yi couldn't help but admire the Mississippi. She had a strong aura and was able to control the situation. Meng Yao's second call was to Pengzhan. Yao Yao. Pengzhan was a businessman. Naturally, he wouldn't turn off his phone. He was surprised and happy when he received Meng Yao's call. There was no news from Meng Yao ever since she left. Ping Zhan was worried, but there was nothing he could do. After all, he knew the Palace of Darkness better than anyone. If he could contact them, then he could. If he couldn't, then there was nothing he could do. It had been so many years, and there was no news from Yiwan. Meng Yao had just left. How could he expect any news from her? So Ping Zhan was prepared to not see his daughter for 10 years. Chapter 3173. It's me, Daddy, I miss you. Meng Yao heard Ping Zhan's voice, filled with emotions. I miss you too, Yao Yao. How are you doing in the Palace of Darkness? How come you can call me? Did the Grand Elder allow you to contact the outside world? Have you been in contact with Lin Yi? Ping Zhan asked a bunch of questions. I'm the Palace Master of the Palace of Darkness now, no one can stop me from doing what I want here. Meng Yao said proudly, Daddy, don't worry about me, I'm fine here, the Grand Elder won't ask anything of me. Ah. Ping Zhan was startled, he didn't expect Meng Yao to be this powerful. Yiwan used to be the Palace Master of the Palace of Darkness, but she didn't have much power. Meng Yao, on the other hand, was different. She'd just entered the Palace of Darkness and had already obtained the position she deserved. Daddy, I've successfully accepted the inheritance, and I'm now a golden class late phase peak, so the Grand Elder is very happy, Meng Yao explained. Right, have you seen Mommy? Are you guys alright? Your mom. Ping Zhan paused, quickly asking, Yao Yao, you said that your mom is back. Yeah, you didn't see her. Meng Yao was shocked, thinking that there wouldn't be a problem, would there? One had to know that Yiwan had gone back half a month ago, why wasn't she home yet? No, could it be that your mom is back? Ping Zhan was shocked as well, suddenly realizing that something was wrong. Daddy, wait, I'll contact you later. Meng Yao was panicking. Logically speaking, with Yiwan's sky class early phase strength, there shouldn't be any danger. But Yiwan did go back, but she didn't go home, so where could she go? Even if she was a sky class early phase, Meng Yao didn't feel at ease. After all, the Dongfang people were all sky class masters, and Yiwan really wasn't their match. So Meng Yao had to find Yiwan as soon as possible. Okay, if you have news of your mom, let me know immediately. Ping Zhan was panicking as well. Meng Yao hung up. He immediately went to look for the Grand Elder. Now, Meng Yao had a lot of authority in the Palace of Darkness. She could go in and out of any place she wanted, something Yiwan never had before. Even the Grand Elder's residence. Meng Yao could also enter without notifying anyone, and this was also the reason why the Grand Elder could come and ask Meng Yao whenever she had any problems during her training. So now, the disciples of the Dark Palace could see that Meng Yao was the real palace master, different from when Yiwan was on the throne. The era of the Supreme Elder's word was already over. No one dared to go against Meng Yao's words. Whatever she said, it was the same as what the Grand Elder said. That was authority. Greetings, Palace Master. The maid beside the Grand Elder used to be a very powerful existence. He wouldn't be polite to Yiwan, but to Meng Yao, he was very respectful. They knew very well that Meng Yao wanted them dead. The Grand Elder didn't hesitate at all. Yao Yao, you're here. Grand Elder warmly welcomed her. She was all smiles when she saw Meng Yao. The more she looked, the more satisfied she was. Grand Elder, I called my father just now, and he said that my mother didn't go back to Donghai. Didn't our people escort her back? Meng Yao asked directly. What? Wan didn't go back. That's impossible, it's our people who accompanied her all the way to Pingzhan's company. How could they not have gone back? The elder paused, puzzled. All the way to the company. But my father said that he didn't see her. Mingyao's heart skipped a beat. Did something really happen? Yao Yao, don't worry. I'll call the Dark Shadow Group right away. We still have people in the East Ocean City. Especially after Wan went back, I asked Elderly to send more people. They didn't report any bad news, which means that Wan is fine. The Grand Elder said and sent someone to call Elderly. Elderly regained control of the Dark Shadow Group because of Meng Yao, and his power in the Palace of Darkness was at its peak. After Elderly arrived, the Grand Elder told Elderly about Yuaner's situation and said, Elderly, go ask the members of the Dark Shadow Group in East Ocean City where Warner is right now. Okay, I'll go ask now. Elderly said and went to make the call. About 10 minutes later, Elderly came back with a weird look on his face and said to Meng Yao and the Grand Elder, Palace Master, the Dark Shadow Group said that Elder Yi is staying in a hotel opposite Pingzhan Industries in Donghai. She's been staying in the hotel ever since she came to Donghai. She'll go out occasionally and take a look at Pingzhan's place, but she won't stay overnight. She'll come back to stay at night. Staying in a hotel nearby. So my mom didn't meet my dad. She goes home at night and only stays outside. Meng Yao heard this and felt that it was strange. Yes, but we can't be sure. After all, the Dark Shadow Group can't follow too closely. Elder Yi is also a sky class, she'll be discovered if she gets too close. Elderly said. Then. Do you have any way of contacting my mom? Meng Yao asked. Yes, but we need to get the Dark Shadow Group to look for her in the hotel room because Elder Yi doesn't have a phone or any other communication tools. Elderly said and suddenly thought of something. There's another way, which is to find the number in her hotel room and call her directly. Then we'll go with the second method. Elderly, go check it out now. Meng Yao said. Okay, I'll go ask them now. Elderly nodded. After a while, Elderly came back and passed a piece of paper with a phone number to Yi Wan and said, Palace Master, this is the number in Elder Ye's room. Meng Yao let out a sigh of relief and nodded. She took the phone number and walked out of the room to call her mother Yi Wan. The Grand Elder and Elderly didn't follow her out, obviously not wanting to eavesdrop on Meng Yao. Chapter 3174. Mom. Meng Yao's heart ached when she heard the voice. She couldn't understand why her mother would hide in the hotel and not meet her father. Yao Yao. Warner paused, not expecting Meng Yao to call her in her hotel room. But after a while, she understood that the Dark Palace's Dark Shadow Group must be paying attention to her, so it wasn't surprising that Meng Yao could get her number. You got my number from the Dark Shadow Group? Yes, the Elderly just gave it to me, Meng Yao said. Yao Yao, Mom is very happy. It seems like you really have a foothold in the Dark Palace, and you've obtained the power of the Palace Master. Wan sighed. She had been in the Dark Palace for so many years, how would she dare to call home? But Meng Yao dared, and not only that, Elderly also regained his power. All of this was probably brought by Yao Yao. Wan couldn't understand her daughter. Although the two looked similar, her daughter was much stronger than her. Yes, Mom, let's not talk about this first. Why don't you meet Dad? He misses you a lot. Meng Yao quickly asked. Yao Yao. Wan fell silent. She returned to Donghai, but she didn't go see Pingzhan immediately because she was excited and worried. It had been so many years, and she hadn't seen Pingzhan. How could she not be excited? However, her daughter had sacrificed herself for her return, and Pingzhan had lost his daughter in exchange for his wife. As a result, Yi-won didn't dare face Ping-jeon. After all these years, she hadn't fulfilled her duty as a wife, and Ping-jeon hadn't found anyone else, not even a lover. This made Won-er feel very guilty. She felt that she owed Ping-jeon, and didn't know how to face him, so she hid in the hotel and watched Ping-jeon secretly, not daring to meet him. "Mom, what's wrong? Is there something you can't say?" Meng Yao was confused. "I don't know how to face your dad. It's been so many years, and I can't be by his side, I can't even call him. I suddenly appeared and came back, and I don't dare to go see him." Won-er smiled bitterly and told Meng Yao her worries. Won-er's words made Meng Yao not know whether to laugh or cry. She could only comfort her. "Mother, don't worry. It's a good thing that you're back. It's not your fault, it's the rules of the Palace of Darkness. Aren't they all fine now? Now think about it, your mother is too weak. What rules? Yao, you can ignore these rules. But I can't." Yi-won blamed herself. "It's not the same, actually." Meng Yao smiled, comforting her. "Mom, I've accepted the inheritance. That's why in the Palace of Darkness, their words carry enormous weight. But you didn't accept the inheritance, so it's not your fault." "Ah. You've already accepted the inheritance?" Yi-won was a little surprised. He didn't expect Meng Yao to accept the inheritance so quickly. "And so only the Grand Elder would give me the greatest support and freedom, but you're different, so you don't have to blame yourself. Hurry up and find Daddy, he already knows that you're back. If you don't go now, he'll definitely come looking for you." Meng Yao said. "Ah. You've already told him?" Yi-won was startled. Naturally, she knew how much Ping-jeon cared about her. She could tell from the fact that Ping-jeon hadn't had anything with other women in years, so it was possible that Ping-jeon would come looking for her. "And so you need to make a decision quickly," Meng Yao said. "How about this, Yao, give me a few more days to get used to it. I've left the Palace of Darkness, and it's been a long time since I've come to the common world. I want to calm down for a few more days," Yi-won said. Then, "All right." Meng Yao didn't force Yi-won anymore. She knew that her mother and herself were people with many things on their minds. They were always hesitating, just like how she was with Lin Yi. But after hanging up, Meng Yao dialed Ping-jeon's number again. Sometimes, people with this kind of personality needed someone to add fuel to the fire. Meng Yao herself was the same. If it wasn't for Shu, she wouldn't have been able to confess to Lin Yi so smoothly. So, this time, she needed to be the one to add fuel to the fire. Yao, how's it going? Did you find your mother?" Ping-jeon had been watching the phone the whole time. He quickly picked it up when Meng Yao called. "Dad, go to the XX hotel opposite your company, room 2901. Don't tell anyone I told you," Meng Yao said. "Go to the hotel." Ping-jeon paused and understood immediately. He smiled. "All right, Yao, I'll go right now. I won't tell your mother. You were the one who told me she was at the hotel." "Ha!" Meng Yao laughed. Actually, Yi-won could guess it even if Ping-jeon didn't tell her. After hanging up, Meng Yao let out a sigh of relief. Now that she was done, she needed to go back and call Shu. This call would probably last the whole night. This was one of the reasons why she called Shu in the end. Ping-jeon quickly washed up and changed into a suit. He stood in front of the mirror and fixed his hair. In the past, Ping-jeon cared a lot about his image. He would fix his hair properly when he went to business, but he had never been as serious as he was today. Ping-jeon fixed his hair again and again. However, he couldn't help but sigh when he saw the white hair on his temples in the mirror. No matter what, he was old. In the blink of an eye, he became a middle-aged man. He wondered what Yi Wan-er looked like now. Although, in his impression, Yi Wan-er still looked like Meng Yao, Ping Zhan knew that Yi Wan-er must be old now. However, no matter what Yi Wan-er looked like, Ping Zhan's heart never changed. He couldn't wait to see Yi Wan-er. Finally, looking at the image in the mirror, Ping Zhan was satisfied. He rushed out of the door and drove to the hotel opposite his company. However, when he passed by a vending machine, Ping Zhan hesitated and stopped the car. He fiddled with the vending machine and got a small box. Chapter 3175. Ping Zhan had already made up his mind. He was prepared to let Faubert or Sun Jingyi take care of the business, and then take Yi Wan-er on a trip to Las Vegas, to reminisce about his youth. Although Mr. Yang had disappeared for a long time, Ping Zhan couldn't forget those times. He parked the car in front of the hotel, and because his car was very high class, the security didn't question him. Ping Zhan took the elevator to the 29th floor, and came to room 2901. He was so excited that his breathing quickened. He reached out his hand, wanting to knock on the door, but couldn't bring himself to do so. Wan-er was a heaven-class early phase master. She could feel it immediately when someone approached the door. She thought it was a waiter, but after waiting for a long time, no one knocked on the door. The person at the door still hadn't left. Wan-er suspected that the person at the door was from the Dark Palace, so she didn't think much. She walked to the door and suddenly opened it. She wanted to see who was secretly following her. If it was the old Yi Wan-er, she wouldn't have done this. Although she was the palace master in name, the people under her didn't listen to her at all. They wouldn't care if she was being followed, but it was different now. Meng Yao had a firm foothold in the Dark Palace, and with that, these people had to respect Yi Wan-er. Otherwise, if they pissed Meng Yao off, they'd end up like Zhao Qibing cleaning the toilet. But when the door opened, Yi Wan-er froze when she saw the person at the door. Ping Zhan didn't expect the door to open abruptly, and jumped in fright. But when he saw Yi Wan-er in the room, he was stunned. Yi Wan-er looked the same as when she left. There weren't many changes, just like when she gave birth to Meng Yao. She'd seen Ping Zhan from afar before, but this was the first time she'd seen him up close. She felt a little sad as she looked at Ping Zhan's white sideburns. She'd been gone for so many years, leaving Ping Zhan alone at home. He didn't even call. Yi Wan-er's tears fell like rain. Ping Zhan, you're old. Haha, it's fine if I'm old, but you're not. An old man with a young wife, people would be envious. Ping Zhan smiled, but you wouldn't look down on me, would you? Yi Wan-er shook her head, I'm sorry. For so many years, I left you and Yao Yao here, you didn't have a choice, I understand. However, our daughter is very good. That grand elder is very good. Other than Mr. Yang, only Yao Yao can suppress her. Ping Zhan sighed. Wan couldn't hold it in any longer and threw herself into Ping Zhan's embrace. The two had been separated for more than 10 years, and now they were finally reunited. Ping Zhan held Yi Wan-er in his arms. After entering the room, he casually closed the door. Ling Shan had been very troubled lately, for no other reason than that Tang Yuqi's pursuit was getting more and more obvious. Ling Shan didn't know what to do. On one hand, Tang Yuqi was one of the best crime-solving experts. With him in the police force, Ling Shan felt a lot less pressure. Tang Yuqi only needed to take a look at the cases, and he would be able to solve them easily. On the other hand, Tang Yuqi's salary was very low, the same as the police officers in the team. This made the people in the police force very satisfied with Tang Yuqi. Who wouldn't want such a cheap and capable employee? And so, Ling Shan couldn't fire him even if she wanted to. She could only act like she didn't know anything about Tang Yuqi's pursuit. Ling Shan, let's have dinner after work. Tang Yuqi finished his work and walked over with a smile. Last night, Tang Yuqi had just used a chi gathering pill and successfully broke through to Sky Class early phase. In actuality, Tang Yuqi didn't want to use pills to level up, but for Ling Shan, to make Ling Shan think that he was strong, he had to use pills frequently. The resources of the association were very plentiful, and Tang Yuqi was a core member of the association, so he had quite a lot of them. Tang Yuqi heard from other people that Ling Shan's criteria for a partner was to be stronger than her. That was why Tang Yuqi was in such a rush to level up. He wanted to increase the distance between him and Ling Shan. Ling Shan was an Earth class early phase, and if he wanted to increase the distance between them, he had to be a Sky class early phase. No, I still have things to do. Ling Shan didn't even raise her head from the case file in her hands. I just broke through to Sky Class yesterday as a colleague and a friend. Aren't you going to help me celebrate? Tang Yuqi said. You broke through. Ling Shan paused, a little surprised. Tang Yuqi had broken through so many times recently, and he was now a Sky Class. Wasn't this a little too fast? Yeah, so why don't we celebrate? Tang Yuqi smiled. I really have things to do today. I'll check the time after I'm done. Even so, Ling Shan didn't want to go out alone with Tang Yuqi anymore. She knew what Tang Yuqi was trying to achieve, so she didn't want to eat alone with him anymore. There was already someone in her heart, and she couldn't accept Tang Yuqi anymore. I see, then I'll wait for you. Tang Yuqi naturally didn't want to give up. Is there anything I can help with? These cases are from the past, and some of the victims' families have been asking about the progress. I want to rearrange these cases and see if there are any clues. Ling Shan said, if you don't have anything else, I'll give you half of it, and you can look at it together. Ah, okay. Tang Yuqi was speechless. Many of these cases that had been squeezed out in the past were years old. Looking at them now, not to mention so many cases, it was extremely difficult to find a clue to one of them. How long would it take to sort out all these clues and clues? How was this something that could be done in one night? But since Ling Shan said that, there was nothing Tang Yuqi could do about it. He could be with Ling Shan anyways, working a little more wasn't a big deal. With that thought, Tang Yuqi picked up a couple of scrolls and started reading. Chapter 3176. Nah, I'll just order some takeout. Ling Shan said. Ling Shan, why are you always avoiding me? Tang Yuqi finally asked the question he'd been holding in his heart for a long time. He'd been trying his best to maintain his image in front of Ling Shan all this time, and he'd found out about Ling Shan's criteria for a mate as well. He felt that he fit the criteria perfectly, so he didn't understand why Ling Shan wouldn't accept him. He and Ling Shan were in the same line of work, and they had plenty of things in common. They were both practitioners, too, and he was stronger than Ling Shan. These were all things that fit Ling Shan's criteria for a mate, but why did Ling Shan keep rejecting him? Tang Yuqi didn't think that he wasn't good enough. He felt that the problem lay with Ling Shan, and so he gathered his courage to ask. Tang Yuqi, what do you want to say? Ling Shan frowned. She'd always known that Tang Yuqi liked her, but this was the first time she'd talked about this so openly and honestly. Ling Shan, I want to know, why do you keep rejecting me? Don't you understand what I'm thinking? I like you. Tang Yuqi said loudly. I'm staying here because of you. I feel like we're in the same line of work, and we're both practitioners. I've also heard that your criteria for a mate is that the man has to be stronger than you. I'm satisfied with all that. I don't understand, why don't you respond to my advances? Tang Yuqi, I believe you've noticed that I've been avoiding this question ever since I found out about your feelings. You should know what I mean. Ling Shan said. I didn't say it out loud because we're colleagues, hoping that you'd back off, but I didn't think that you'd do something like this. I didn't think that you'd get stronger and stronger. But since you've said it out loud today, I'll tell you that it's impossible between us. Why? There has to be a reason, right? Ling Shan, there has to be a reason for rejecting me. I feel like we're a good match, there's nothing wrong with it. Tang Yuqi said, unwilling to give up. If I had to give you a reason, it would be that I already have someone I like. Ling Shan looked at Tang Yuqi. She said firmly, I like him. Is that reason enough? But I've never seen him before. Are you lying to me, Ling Shan? Tang Yuqi didn't really believe her. If there really is such a person, then why would he do that? I've been in the police force for quite some time now. It's impossible that I haven't seen them before, right? He was very busy, had many things to do, so I didn't disturb him. Ling Shan said. Tang Yuqi, I can't deny that you're very good, but I'm speaking from a very fair perspective. He's much more powerful than you, so please let go of this matter. This is good for all of us. No. I don't believe it. Tang Yuqi said unwillingly, I'm a heaven stage expert, an expert in solving cases. How can he be better than me? Ling Shan, don't lie to me. There's no such person, right? Sorry, I don't need to lie to you. Ling Shan shrugged. Tang Yuqi, it doesn't matter if you believe it or not. In short, this person really exists. All right. Ling Shan, since you say that he's stronger than me, then I'll challenge him to a duel. Let's see who's stronger. Tang Yuqi said. If he's stronger than me, then I'll accept it wholeheartedly. If he's weaker than me, Ling Shan, I hope you can reconsider. Tang Yuqi, why are you so stubborn? Ling Shan didn't know what to do, but Tang Yuqi's way of doing things was very gentlemanly, after all. He wanted to compete with Lin Yi, and even if he won, he'd only let Ling Shan consider him. Ling Shan really couldn't say anything harsh to him. I hope you'll give me this chance. Tang Yuqi said firmly. I can't promise you that. If you really want to challenge him, I can find some time to talk to him, but I can't guarantee that he'll accept it. Ling Shan said. Alright, if he's really as strong as you say, a big hero, then he'll definitely accept my challenge. He won't be a coward. Tang Yuqi knew how to provoke her, and Ling Shan knew what he was thinking. She only smiled faintly and didn't take it to heart. In fact, Ling Shan hadn't seen Lin Yi in a while, and she missed Lin Yi a lot. But she heard that Lin Yi was very busy these days, being a bodyguard for Su Shihan, and the company's new product was on the market. So she didn't want to disturb Lin Yi. She hadn't encountered any difficult cases that she couldn't solve either. Tang Yuqi could take care of normal cases, and she didn't need Lin Yi's help. So there was no reason for Ling Shan to ask Lin Yi for help. Now was an opportunity. Lin Yi wanted to challenge him, and Ling Shan could use this to ask Lin Yi out and meet him. This was also why Ling Shan agreed to help Tang Yuqi. I'll talk to him. Ling Shan said. All right. If that's the case, then I won't pester you anymore. I'll take the case file back and look at it. If you want to stay in the office, then we can continue. I'll go back first. Tang Yuqi didn't pester her anymore after achieving his goal. Ling Shan was a little surprised. She nodded. I'll look at it for a while. All right, see you tomorrow. Tang Yuqi didn't say much and left the office with the case file. After Tang Yuqi left, Ling Shan sighed and called Lin Yi. Ling Shan. Lin Yi was a little surprised when he picked up. Ling Shan hadn't contacted him for a while. Is there another case you can't solve? Not really. Ling Shan heard Lin Yi's words and felt a little embarrassed. It was as if she was useless. Every time she looked for Lin Yi, it was to solve a case. She quickly said. It's like this. There's a colleague in the police station who's chasing me, colleague. Pursue you. Lin Yi paused. You called me just to tell me this. Ha. I rejected him and told him that I already have someone I like, but he wants to challenge you. Ling Shan said. Pfft. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I'm a practitioner, and a sky class at that. He wants to challenge me. Actually, he's a practitioner too, and a sky class. Ling Shan smiled bitterly. Chapter 3177. It's like this. Ling Shan didn't say anything about Tang Yin. He's actually a detective who came back from overseas, very famous. He came to our police station to fight, and he's only taking the salary of an assistant police officer, but he's working as an international detective. We were quite happy that he came, but who knew that his real goal was to pursue me, a sky class from overseas. Lin Yi was even more confused. There's a sky class from overseas. And this heaven rank expert actually ran over here. That's right. He belongs to an organization called the Overseas Practitioners Association. His name is Tang Yuqi. Have you heard of him? Ling Shan said. Tang Yuqi. Lin Yi paused. This name was quite familiar. It took him a bit of time to remember who this person was. Back then, when he went to the movies with Meng Yao and the others, Pin Liang was there as well. He met someone called Tang Yuqi, an overseas detective. Lin Yi's impression of this person wasn't bad. Could this person be a villain? Yes, but this person isn't too bad. He's pursuing me, but he doesn't cross the line. He doesn't have any bad intentions. Ling Shan said. You just need to teach him a lesson and let him back off. Why would I teach him a lesson? Lin Yi asked. Ling Shan paused, annoyed. Then I'll say yes. What I mean is, you don't have to teach him a lesson. Lin Yi smiled. You're a bad person. Ling Shan said angrily. The dummy girl doesn't want to dual cultivate with you anymore. Lin Yi smiled. If Su Shihan goes out one day, ask him out. She's got a lot of enemies, after all. Things have calmed down for now, but I can't guarantee that no one will ambush her again. I can't leave her behind. Alright, don't be the bodyguard and become your boyfriend. Ling Shan said enviously. Just like Meng Yao. Yao Yao's gone. Lin Yi sighed. What? Gone. What do you mean? She's dead. Ling Shan asked, shocked. Usually, when someone said gone with a heavy tone, it meant that the person had passed away. Lin Yi's tone wasn't very nice, so Ling Shan couldn't be blamed for thinking too much. Pfft. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I went to an ancient sect and became its successor, so I had no choice but to go there. I'll tell you about it when I have the time. She is also an inheritor. Ling Shan was even more surprised. Alright, let me know when you're free. Then, when you go out, just give me a call. Okay. Lin Yi nodded. The next morning, Ling Shan told Tang Yuqi about the news. Otherwise, Tang Yuqi wouldn't be able to handle it. Tang Yuqi would still come and bother her. Why not give him a promise? Then, he had to wait patiently. He agreed. Good. I really didn't expect him to be the bodyguard of a superstar. This person's skill should be pretty good, but I'm a heaven rank expert. Is he that confident that he can beat me? Tang Yuqi said to himself. Ling Shan told him that Lin Yi was Su Shihan's bodyguard, and that he was busy these days, so he didn't come looking for her. With that, Tang Yuqi believed her. After all, when a superstar went out, a bodyguard had to be with them 24/7. He agreed, but don't get your hopes up. You're strong, but he's even stronger. Ling Shan poured a bucket of cold water on Tang Yuqi. It's okay, I'll prove myself. Tang Yuqi was full of confidence after Lin Yi agreed. He didn't bother him anymore and went to look at the case files. Ling Shan was just about to sit down when her phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. She picked it up politely. Hello, I'm Donghai City's Ling Shan from the police station. Her phone might be called by the victim's family or other kind citizens with clues, so Ling Shan wouldn't miss a single call. Officer Song, hello. I'm Tang Yun's mother, Wang Yujie. Meng Yao gave me your number and told me to contact you directly. Mrs. Tang's voice came from the other side. Chapter 3178. And so, the two packed up and drove to the House of Six Tastes. There was a jeep parked in front of the House of Six Tastes. It was a car Mrs. Tang had asked Shuegu to buy for her. Mrs. Tang had actually bought one for Lin Yi, and she'd thought it was a pretty good one. Shuegu was rich, so she wouldn't offend Mrs. Tang over such a small matter. So, she bought it. Ling Shan, right? Mrs. Tang had seen Ling Shan before, and had some impression of her. She saw a pretty girl walking over with a young man who looked similar to Tang Juqing. That must be Tang Yuqi. Tang Juqing followed Mrs. Tang out of the car as well. Ling Shan didn't say anything, but Tang Yuqi, who was beside her, was extremely excited. He ran over quickly when he saw Juqing because he could see his father's face. This was his second uncle, no doubt about it. It gave Juqing an innate sense of closeness. Second uncle. Tang Yuqi called out subconsciously. You're Yuqi, right? Juqing was filled with emotions. My brother, your father, is he doing well? Second uncle, my father is healthy, but he's getting old, and he's starting to reminisce about his hometown and you. He's just waiting for me to come back to look for him. I didn't think that with Ling Shan's help, we really did find him. Tang Yuqi said. Second uncle, what? What are you guys doing now? I heard from Ling Shan that it's a secret. Well, let's talk inside. Juqing looked at Mrs. Tang, not knowing how to answer. Yeah, second uncle, second aunt, look at me, I forget that we're at the entrance of a restaurant. I forgot that we are at the entrance of the restaurant. Please. Tang Yuqi made a gesture of invitation in embarrassment. The House of Six Tastes was one of the most popular restaurants in Donghai. It was a big place, but it didn't have private rooms. Only guests with VIP cards could reserve seats. Normal people couldn't reserve seats and had to wait. Fortunately, Ling Shan was from House Song, a big family in the common world. It wasn't hard to get a membership card. The group entered the House of Six Tastes. But the disciple who was driving didn't follow. He knew his place, and didn't dare act presumptuously in front of Auntie Wang. Who in the Snow Valley didn't know that Auntie Wang was the boss? After ordering, Tang Juqing and Tang Yuqi started chatting again. Although the two of them had never met before, Tang Yuqi knew a lot about his father's childhood because of his father's request. Now that he was talking about it with Tang Juqing couldn't help but feel emotional. Ling Shan and Wang Yujie, on the other hand, didn't interrupt, allowing the two to talk about family matters. After that, Tang Yuqi talked a lot about his father and him overseas. The relationship between the two families became closer in an instant. At this time, the dishes were served, and everyone chatted while eating. The atmosphere was very harmonious. The matter of Lin Yi instantly killing two peak late-stage heaven-rank powerhouses spread in the ancient era, and the forces opposing Lin Yi all felt insecure. Other forces that had nothing to do with Lin Yi were also hesitating whether they should extend an olive branch to Lin Yi. As for those who were on good terms with Lin Yi, they were all very happy. However, as Lin Yi's follower, Feng Shipian, wasn't very happy. Dongfang Xiaozu told Feng Shipian everything about her, hoping that he could ask Lin Yi to let Dongfang Xiaozui go. To be honest, Feng Shipian was very angry with Dongfang Xiaozui's doing. She wanted to kill her half-sister, and this sister couldn't threaten her or his position at all, but she still wanted to assassinate her. This made Feng Shipian feel that his mother was very brainless. So he only answered vaguely and didn't agree to help, because he didn't know how to ask Lin Yi for this. He was Lin Yi's follower, yes, but asking for forgiveness for his mother's wrongdoing, Feng Shipian didn't think it was appropriate. After all, he and his father begged Lin Yi to help protect Su Shihan, and now he wanted Lin Yi to forgive the enemy that targeted Su Shihan. Wasn't this a conflict? But, at the end of the day, Dongfang Xiaozui was Feng Shipian's mother, and Feng Shipian was a very kind person. Since he was willing to help Nitian get the medicine, he couldn't be cruel to his own mother. So, in the end, he still called Lin Yi. Shipian, how is it, any news? Lin Yi picked up and asked. Boss. It's not that there's news, but, there's something, I don't know how to tell you. Feng Shipian was hesitant. What's wrong? What can't you say? Lin Yi was confused. Why are you being so polite with me? If you have something to say, just say it. It's like this, boss, the assassination against my sister was actually led by my mother. Feng Shipian said carefully. I know, isn't your grandfather Dongfang Bidao from the Dongfang family? Lin Yi knew about this, but, I'm sorry, I killed your second uncle. Sweat. I don't have any feelings for them, and we haven't lived together since we were young. We rarely see each other. Feng Shipian said, what I mean is. Can you forgive my mother, don't kill her. Why would I kill her? Lin Yi heard Feng Shipian's words and suddenly froze. The thing against my sister was done by my mother, and now the ancient level has spread, saying that you can instantly kill two heaven-class late-phase peak masters, so my mother is afraid that you will take revenge on her. Feng Shipian explained. Shipian, I'm just Xiaohan's bodyguard, I only protect her and not let others hurt her. As for who is targeting her, I really don't need to take the initiative to find them. My purpose is to scare them, so that they don't cause trouble for Xiaohan, that's enough. After listening, Lin Yi said, and, even if I want to find trouble, I will go to the Dongfang family, and not her. In fact, protecting Su Shihan was only Lin Yi's job, and the real enemy of Lin Yi was the Dongfang family. Lin Yi killed Dongfang Jian. This was a trouble that would not stop until he was dead. As for Dongfang Xiaozui, without the Dongfang family, she was a poor woman. Then I'm relieved, thank you, boss. Feng Shipian said with a sigh of relief. It's nothing, so, Xiaohan is not in danger for the time being? Lin Yi asked. Chapter 3179. Not really, Xiaohan and I are good friends, I can't ignore her safety, Lin Yi said, I can just relax a bit. That's good, I'll let you know if there's anything new, Feng Shipian said. After hanging up the phone, Lin Yi told Shihan the news. Shihan was surprised and happy, so, I'm not in danger for now, I can go out for a walk. Of course. Lin Yi nodded. He could see that Shihan had been staying in the villa for a while, she must be bored. Now that she could relax, it was a good thing. Then. Can you go out with me? I've been in Donghai for so long, I haven't gone out yet. Shirhan said excitedly, the last time I came to Donghai, I ate at a restaurant called Six Tastes House. It was very delicious. Can you bring me there? Su Shirhan had been to Donghai City when she was the spokesperson for Fatty Lie's company. She had eaten at the Six Tastes House once, and it made her forget to go home. This time in Donghai City, because someone was after her, she could only stay at home. Now that the danger was over, the first place she thought of was the Six Tastes House. Okay. Lin Yi knew about Six Tastes House, but he had never been there before. Faubert had bought takeout from Six Tastes House and sent it to them. It was really good. Six Tastes House usually didn't allow takeout, but Peng Zhan was the chairman of Donghai Chamber of Commerce. His status was different. Six Tastes House was a business in Donghai. No matter how strict the rules were, it was impossible for them to not change. However, Lin Yi heard that people had to line up to get a table, and they couldn't book a table in advance. It was almost noon, so he went there now. He had to line up, so Lin Yi had no choice but to call Han Xiaopa and ask him to book a table. After the collapse of the Hidden House Xiao, the Hidden House Han became the biggest family in Donghai, so House Han was very powerful in Donghai. Booking a table in Six Tastes House was a piece of cake. It didn't take long for Han Xiaopa to call back, giving him the number of the table. In the Six Tastes House, there were 2 tables for VIPs in case of emergencies. These 2 tables could not be used no matter how many people there were. Instead, it was specially provided for VIPs. Of course, the number of VIP cards issued by the residents of Six Tastes was limited. 2 tables were enough. It was rare for the restaurant to be fully occupied. But today, it gave the boss of the residents of Six Tastes a headache. Early in the morning, 2 VIP tables were booked. If another table of distinguished guests came, there would really be no seats left. Although this kind of situation was rare, the boss of the residents of Six Tastes had to be prepared for a rainy day. He still reserved an ordinary seat nearby. Even if no one made an appointment, the reputation of the residents of Six Tastes couldn't be lost. Lin Yi brought Su Shirhan, Qing Yi, and Yushu to the house of Six Tastes. Perhaps Yushu knew her fate. Therefore, he was not as enthusiastic about going to school as before. He would go to school when he had nothing to do. If he had something to do, he wouldn't go. Lin Yi parked the car in front of the residence of Six Tastes and walked straight into the restaurant. However, at the entrance, he was stopped by the waiter. Sir, please go to the ATM over there to get a number. Thank you. I have a reservation. The person who made the reservation is Han Xiaopa. Lin Yi said. Ah, it's Mr. Han who made the reservation. Please come in. The waiter had obviously been informed by the boss before. After hearing Lin Yi said that it was Han Xiaopa who made the reservation, he immediately warmly welcomed Lin Yi in. Lin Yi brought Su Shirhan, Qing Yi, and Yushu to the VIP table number 2 under the waiter's guidance. However, just as he walked over, Lin Yi was stunned. Because Lin Yi saw 3 familiar faces at the VIP table number 1. One was Song Lingshan, the other was Tang Yuqi, who he met at the theater, and the last person shocked Lin Yi. Because that person was from Shuigu. At this moment, Song Lingshan and the others also saw Lin Yi walking in. Song Lingshan was also a little shocked. If it was any other day, she would be very happy to see Lin Yi, but today, the person she didn't want to see the most was Lin Yi. There was no other reason. Meng Yao had repeatedly told her to keep Tang Yun's matter a secret. But now, Lin Yi met her. On the other hand, Tang Yuqi obviously didn't know that Lin Yi was Song Lingshan's lover. He was a detective, and his memory was very good. Naturally, he had an impression of Lin Yi. He knew that he met this person at the theater, so he politely nodded to Lin Yi. Mrs. Tang and Tang Juqing, on the other hand, felt a little awkward and nervous. Tang Juqing didn't have his own opinion, so he could only look at Mrs. Tang for help, hoping that she could solve this problem. Ling Shan, are you here? Auntie Wang, why are you here? Aren't you the patrolling watcher? Lin Yi was confused, but he didn't mention anything about Shuigu. After all, he didn't know if Mrs. Tang had told Song Lingshan and Tang Yuqi about her identity, so Lin Yi only told them about her weird position. Mrs. Tang was a smart person. She understood immediately that Lin Yi didn't remember Tang Yun or anything related to her. Tang Yun was always by her side when she interacted with Lin Yi. She and Lin Yi basically didn't do anything that left a deep impression, so it was impossible for Lin Yi to know her. He wouldn't remember Tang Yun, so Mrs. Tang wasn't nervous. Ah, so it's Lin Yi. Auntie Wang came from Shuigu this time for some private business. Your husband's nephew came back from overseas, and with Officer Song's help, we got in touch, so we're having a meal together, Mrs. Tang explained. Lin Yi nodded. He was a little confused as to how Ling Shan knew that Mrs. Tang was from Shuigu, but it wasn't a good time to ask. He only nodded. My friend and I are also here for a meal. I won't disturb you then, Auntie Wang. Thank you for taking care of me in Shuigu. Today's meal is on me. It's fine, Auntie can reimburse you. Mrs. Tang waved her hand. You've already invited your auntie. Auntie has this bit of power in Shuigu. To Mrs. Tang, she would be an idiot if she didn't take advantage of the situation. Shuigu was trying its best to please her, so naturally, she wouldn't hold back. Chapter 3180. Yushu knew Mrs. Chen and gave her a look, but she didn't go over to greet her. Ling Shan, second aunt, you guys seem to know that guy. Tang Yuqi was a little confused about Lin Yi's identity. He's the guy I told you about. Ling Shan said. Didn't you notice? The girl with the sunglasses and pink coat beside him is Su Shihan. Oh, right, you just came back from overseas, so it's normal that you don't know her. Su Shihan. I've heard of him, he's very famous. Tang Yuqi frowned. He's your boyfriend. She was a little embarrassed to admit that she had a relationship with Lin Yi in front of Mrs. Tang. Mrs. Tang's face was a little weird as well. Although Lin Yi didn't remember Tang Yun anymore, Tang Yun still liked Lin Yi. And so, Mrs. Tang paid extra attention to the people around Lin Yi. Mrs. Tang suddenly understood why Ling Shan had been so polite to her. It seemed that Ling Shan had been treating her like a junior, after all. I'm not really his boyfriend. I just like him, but I haven't confessed yet. He actually has a girlfriend, but she left, so I'm just a mistress. Ling Shan said. Ling Shan's words made Mrs. Tang happy. It seemed like Ling Shan knew her place well enough. Mrs. Tang wasn't afraid of Lin Yi finding a mistress, a mistress, a mistress, a mistress, or a mistress. After all, Tang Yun allowed it. What she was afraid of was women who didn't know their place and wanted to replace him. Mrs. Tang was very satisfied with Ling Shan's performance, and started to like her. But she couldn't help her nephew, Tang Yuqi. What? You're just a mistress. Tang Yuqi was furious. Is this guy that good? I can't take it anymore, I want to challenge him right now. Ling Shan, I'll show you that there are people better than him out there. Tang Yuqi couldn't be blamed for being so agitated. He heard that Ling Shan was willing to be a mistress, so how good did this Lin Yi have to be? And so he wasn't satisfied. He even ignored second uncle and second aunt beside him. He only wanted to see who was better than Lin Yi. You have to finish eating first, right? Ling Shan didn't stop him. She knew that if she didn't let Tang Yuqi challenge Lin Yi, he wouldn't give up. He'd only give up if he lost wholeheartedly. Therefore, it was a good idea to challenge Lin Yi as soon as possible. However, he was currently having dinner with Mrs. Tang's family. How could he challenge it midway? "I'm sorry, Uncle, Auntie, I forgot my manners," Tang Yuqi said, feeling a little embarrassed. He just remembered that he was meeting relatives. Why did he have to challenge people in the middle of a meal? "It doesn't matter. Although I just met you, I want to say that some things are a matter of fate. There's no point in forcing it," Mrs. Tang said to Tang Yuqi. "Ah." Tang Yuqi was slightly taken aback. He looked at Ling Shan, and his heart ached. He swore in his heart that he'd prove that he was stronger than Lin Yi. This topic ended here. Tang Yuqi did not continue. Instead, he changed the topic and asked, "Second uncle. Uncle, Auntie, I heard you guys say that you're from Shuegu now. This Shuegu is Yuqi. I heard from Ling Shan that you're a practitioner, right? You belong to the Overseas Practitioners Association, so you must have heard of the ancient sects, right?" Mrs. Tang asked. "That's right. I've heard that there are some ancient sects here. Could Shuegu be one of them?" Tang Yuqi wasn't stupid. He didn't know much about the ancient sects here, but from what Mrs. Tang said, it had to be Shuegu. "Yes, I'm your second uncle's daughter, and I'm an elder of Shuegu. I'm like a housekeeper there, and I usually accompany your cousin with Uncle Tang," Mrs. Tang introduced. "I see. Doesn't that mean that you guys can't leave Shuegu as you please?" Tang Yuqi was a little disappointed. If that was the case, then even if his father came back, he wouldn't be able to see Juqing's family all the time. He'd still have to live alone, and he didn't know anyone here. What was the point of that? But Tang Yuqi knew that these big sects had very strict rules, and it wasn't something that could be changed by one person. This meeting was probably going to be hard to come by. "We can leave." Mrs. Tang saw through Tang Yuqi's worry and smiled. "But we just want to accompany your cousin. She's a girl, after all, and she has no one to rely on. But the best way is for Big Brother to come back and live in Shuegu as well. That way, you can come visit us when you miss us, and you can still work on your own business." "That's fine." Tang Yuqi was surprised and happy. Even when he was abroad, he didn't see his father often. After all, he was a famous detective, and he was commissioned to go to crime scenes all over the country. He didn't spend much time at home. This was also the reason why his father didn't want to find his younger brother. An old man without a companion was really lonely. Tang Yuqi also knew that he often didn't return home for a month or two, so he actively came here to help him find his family. But Shuegu is a big sect, and there are so many rules. "Can my father live there?" "Of course you can. Don't underestimate your cousin. She's the only elder in the sect other than the Grand Elder. She's on equal footing with the Valley Master of Shuegu, and your second aunt's status in Shuegu is also very high. Most people have to listen to her, so don't worry. After Big Brother goes there, it won't be a problem at all, and we'll have a companion," Mrs. Tang explained. "That's good. I'll ask my father to come back and go with you. This way, the old man won't be lonely anymore, and I'll visit you when I'm free." "There's nothing to worry about," Tang Yuqi quickly said. "All right, you can contact Big Brother. We'll wait for him here," Mrs. Tang said. Tang Yuqi didn't think that things would go so smoothly. He finally felt relieved. On Lin Yi's side, Su Shihan and Qing Yi didn't ask about Mrs. Tang's situation. Su Shihan received Shu's eye signal and knew that things were complicated, so she didn't ask much and focused on the food in front of her. Chapter 3181. The meal was very enjoyable, but after the meal, Tang Yuqi did not leave. He had been waiting for Lin Yi at the door, and Mrs. Tang and Tang Juqing did not leave either. They were actually a little worried that Lin Yi and Tang Yuqi's fight would hurt the harmony between them. After all, there were some things that Mrs. Tang could not say directly. She could not tell Tang Yuqi about Lin Yi's identity, let alone Lin Yi. Therefore, she could only think of a way to smooth things over when they fought, so that her nephew and son-in-law would not hurt the harmony between them. However, Mrs. Tang was relieved that Tang Yuqi and Lin Yi were not the kind of people who could not afford to lose. Tang Yuqi wanted to challenge, but it could be seen that he was a very upright person. If he lost, he would probably not continue to pester them. Lin Yi, I've heard a lot about you. I want to challenge you. I don't know if you will give me this opportunity. At the door of the home of 6 tastes, Tang Yuqi said directly to Lin Yi. Okay, there's no time like the present. Let's do it today. Lin Yi nodded. Let's find a place with no one around. How are we going to compete? You just make the rules. We're all cultivators. Whoever gets knocked down can either get up or admit defeat. However, fists and feet have no eyes. Even if we don't want to take each other's lives, it's inevitable that we'll get injured. However, I have the minor revitalization pill and the great revitalization pill here, so you don't have to worry. Hearing Tang Yuqi's words, Lin Yi was a little surprised. He actually provided pills to his opponent. This Tang Yuqi seemed to be a really honest person. However, the more he was like this, the happier Lin Yi was. After all, Aunt Wang had helped him a lot in Snow Valley, and he did not want to become enemies with her relatives. Sure, but I don't need pills. Lin Yi smiled. You mean that the person who will be injured will definitely be me? Tang Yuqi's expression changed, but he did not lose his temper. He only said, it's good to be confident. We'll only know after the competition. Ling Shan, naturally, knew that Tang Yuqi had misunderstood Lin Yi's intentions. Lin Yi could heal himself and didn't need medicine at all, but she couldn't explain it. I know an abandoned construction site nearby, let's go there. Sure. Lin Yi and Tang Yuqi both nodded. And so, Ling Shan's car led the way, with Mrs. Tang's and Lin Yi's 2 jeeps following behind, heading towards the construction site. Dragon Throne full text reading however, when they were on the road. Lin Yi's keen senses told him that they were being followed. Although Lin Yi didn't know where the stalker was. For the time being, he didn't know how strong the other party was. However, there was no need to think about it. To be able to hide from him and follow him, the other party must have extraordinary strength. Most likely, the other party's strength was above his. However, Lin Yi was troubled as well, who was following them. According to what Feng Shipian had said, his enemies from the ancient sects were all afraid that he would cause trouble for them. Who would dare to cause trouble for him? Plus, Lin Yi's jade didn't react at all, so it seemed like there was no danger. Could it be that this person's target wasn't him? Or was he further away? Or was this person's target Tang Yuqi? Even Lin Yi found the thought funny. After all, among these people, there was only one. Other than Tang Yuqi and the driver disciple, they were all people that Lin Yi had tacitly accepted. They were Lin Yi's teammates, and the jade would warn them if they were in danger. Evidently, there wasn't, so it could only be Tang Yuqi and that disciple. But what kind of enemies would these two have? One was a detective who had returned from overseas, and the other was a disciple randomly sent by the Snow Valley. The stalker was obviously an expert, and the possibility of targeting these two people was very low. But no matter what, Lin Yi didn't let his guard down at all, and continued to search for the direction of the stalker. Along the way to the abandoned unfinished building site, Lin Yi didn't find anyone following them. This made Lin Yi even more fearful, but on the surface, he still pretended to be very calm. He couldn't be flustered. Now that the ancient level had spread, he was a ruthless person who could kill 2 experts at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage in seconds. At least at the level that he could come into contact with, there were no heavenly Tao experts, and experts at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage in great perfection were the kings of cultivators. But for Lin Yi, this level of strength should not be too difficult to kill. In that case, even if he was followed, Lin Yi couldn't be nervous, otherwise, it would expose his own weakness. Of course, Lin Yi didn't get out of the car immediately, because he felt that the danger was getting stronger and stronger. It seemed that this person was waiting for an opportunity to make a move after they stopped the car. Lin Yi was observing. He had to control the danger within a controllable range. On Tang Yuqi's side, he got out of the car first, but just as he got out, a black shadow flew towards him. Lin Yi was shocked, but he didn't dare to make a move. After all, Lin Yi saw clearly at this moment that the person in front of him actually had the strength of the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage. After all, Tang Yuqi was also a Heaven stage expert, and he was a detective. His sixth sense was not ordinary. When he felt danger, he suddenly used his true energy to protect his body, and began to choose to retreat and dodge. But the strength of the other party was too strong. Even if Tang Yuqi dodged, he still couldn't completely avoid it. A palm hit Tang Yuqi's left shoulder, and Tang Yuqi's whole body was hit by this powerful force and flew out, crashing into a wall of the unfinished building. The huge impact made Tang Yuqi's body like a cannonball, directly smashing a big hole in the wall, and his whole body also fell into the unfinished building. But in this way, the black shadow lost the target of attack, and temporarily couldn't find Tang Yuqi in his line of sight. He could only stop his attack and wait for Tang Yuqi to run out of the unfinished building himself. Otherwise, he couldn't just attack the unfinished building directly, right? This created a chance for Tang Yuqi to survive, and he didn't die here. Who are you? How dare you hurt someone? Mrs. Tang was both shocked and angry. Tang Yuqi was her husband's long-lost nephew, and now that he had been injured in front of her, she could not just sit by and do nothing. I am the inspector of the Snowy Valley, and also the Great Elder's mother. What are your intentions in injuring my nephew for no reason? Chapter 3182. Although he didn't hear clearly what position she held in the Snow Valley, the identity of the Great Elder's mother was enough to make pure Cold Master worry. He was from the Everyday and Everyday sect, but the Snow Valley wasn't weak either. Tang Yuqi once disrespected the Mad Dragon Patriarch of our Everyday and Everyday sect. I was ordered to kill him. Even if you're from the Snow Valley, don't meddle in other people's business. This is an order issued by our Patriarch. If you insist on interfering, then you'll be fighting to the death with our Everyday and Everyday sect. Pure Cold Celestial had come with a mission, so she naturally wouldn't back down easily. What? You are from the Everyday and Everyday sect? Mrs. Tang furrowed her brows. She had been in the ancient world for a long time now, and naturally knew what the Everyday After Sun sect represented. Although she could do whatever she wanted in Snow Valley, she didn't have much confidence in the Everyday After Sun sect. Although the Snow Valley was powerful, it was still a far cry from the Everyday and Everyday sect. So Mrs. Tang didn't know if she should interfere or not. Regardless, Tang Yuqi was Tang Juqing's nephew. How could he watch him get killed? But if she interfered, it would be equivalent to inviting a strong enemy for the Snow Valley. Mrs. Tang wasn't afraid of causing trouble for the Snow Valley, but she was afraid that this trouble would affect Tang Yun. So Mrs. Tang was in a dilemma. When Lin Yi heard that the person who came was from the Everyday sect, he hesitated slightly and got out of the car. Although it was a bit risky, Lin Yi could see Mrs. Tang's dilemma. When he was in Snowy Valley, Mrs. Tang had helped him a lot. At this time, it was time for him to repay her. Although Tang Yuqi could be said to be Lin Yi's love rival, he was still a good person. He was also Mrs. Tang's nephew. Lin Yi had to take care of him. Opening the door and getting out of the car, Lin Yi glanced at the black figure and revealed his early heaven stage strength. He said indifferently to the black figure, "Tang Yuqi was about to spar with me. You injured him. What's going on? Where did you come from?" Pure Cold Heavenly Venerate was slightly taken aback. Seeing that Lin Yi was an early heaven rank expert, he didn't take it to heart. However, Mother Tang had said that she was from the Snow Valley. In Pure Cold Celestial's opinion, an expert like Lin Yi should also be from the Snow Valley, although he felt that he could kill Lin Yi. But his purpose in descending the mountain was to kill Tang Yuqi, not to start a feud with the Snow Valley, so he did not attack Lin Yi. He only snorted coldly and said, "What, do you have a problem with that? I tell you, mind your own business. The matters of the Everyday sect are not something you can interfere with." Seeing that Pure Cold Heavenly Venerate was very arrogant, Lin Yi was immediately amused. He smiled and said, "The Everyday and Tomorrow sect, right? I really do have a problem with you guys. And it's not just 1 or 2 days. Oh. Brat, say it like that. Do you want to cause trouble?" Pure Cold Heavenly Venerate looked at Lin Yi coldly. He didn't want to cause trouble, but it didn't mean that he could tolerate it. His gaze and tone of voice towards Lin Yi were a little unfriendly. "That's right." Lin Yi nodded indifferently. "Your Everyday and Tomorrow sect is good. Previously, you sent Zhang Naipeo to go against me. I admit it. Who asked me to have a grudge with his boss, Zhong Pingliang? However, a few days ago, you sent some Purine Heavenly Venerate to find trouble with me. I killed him and now another one. Do you want to die too? You are." Pure Cold Celestial Master broke out in a cold sweat. His clothes were all wet at this moment. His face became extremely pale and he almost fell to the ground on his buttocks. If it was any other time, if an early heaven rank expert dared to talk nonsense in front of him, he would have already taken action. Threatening him was courting death. He would most likely kill that person first. But things were different now, because Lin Yi's words had revealed his identity. He was the person that the Mad Dragon Old Master had warned them not to provoke, the person that they had to hide from, the person that had traumatized Zhang Naipeo, the person that had killed the Purine and Dongfang Yinqing in one hit. Lin Yi. What am I? Lin Yi looked at Pure Cold Heavenly Venerate with a faint smile. That. Senior Lin Yi. I was wrong. I didn't know you were here. If I had known, wouldn't I be a fool if I still came? I don't want to die. I was just joking. Yes, it was just a joke. Pure Cold Heavenly Venerate stuttered a little. I have a small Huan pill here. Give it to him. After eating it, he can return to the market. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. You come and go as you please. Lin Yi asked. What's your purpose in coming down the mountain this time? I came out to be a bystander. Pure Cold Heavenly Venerate suddenly had an idea and said, there's no more bystander in the mountain gate, so I came out to be a bystander. Yes, to be a bystander. He had heard people say something about being a bystander, but he didn't know the real meaning. He thought it really meant being a bystander, so he quickly said so. After saying that, he even praised himself. I'm so smart. Who are you lying to? Lin Yi asked lightly. If you don't want to die, tell me the truth. Yes. Okay, actually, it was the mad dragon ancestor who asked me to kill Tang Yuqi. Pure cold heavenly venerate said. Why? Lin Yi asked. He really couldn't figure out how Tang Yuqi could make a sect's ancestor remember him and send someone to kill him. It said that he humiliated our ancestor. I don't know anything else. Pure cold heavenly venerate naturally didn't dare to easily reveal Zhong Pingliang's identity. This was a big secret of the sect. Fortunately, Lin Yi didn't ask much because Lin Yi couldn't guess what the relationship between Mad Dragon Ancestor and Zhong Pingliang was. Alright, scram. I'll protect Tang Yuqi. Go back and tell your ancestor that if he sends more people, I'll go to his door. Lin Yi said. I'll kill all of you even if I have to pay a price. That's right. Yes. I'll get lost now. Pure cold heavenly venerate nodded quickly. He didn't even have the courage to talk to Lin Yi directly. He took out a small rejuvenation pill from his arms, put it on the ground, and then quickly disappeared on the spot. Lin Yi looked at the back of pure cold heavenly venerate and breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that he had successfully deceived this person. After a while, Lin Yi no longer felt like he was being followed and monitored. It seemed that pure cold heavenly venerate had really left. Chapter 3183. He knew that the other party was an expert at the peak of the late stage of heaven rank. Tang Yuqi was heavily injured in just one exchange, even when he was on guard. If he did it again, wouldn't he be as good as dead? Therefore, Tang Yuqi really didn't dare to go out at will. He just hid in the unfinished building and waited for pure cold Tianzuan to leave before daring to come out. However, he was a little ashamed. Lin Yi was also an expert at the early stage of heaven rank, but he dared to stay calm in front of pure cold Tianzuan, an expert at the peak of the late stage of heaven rank. However, what shocked Tang Yuqi the most was that Lin Yi was not afraid of pure cold Tianzuan, but pure cold Tianzuan was actually afraid of Lin Yi. Moreover, she was so afraid that she was trembling. Listening to Lin Yi, it seemed that Lin Yi and the everyday sect had a deep hatred. Moreover, Lin Yi had killed people from their sect. Pure cold Tianzuan, an expert at the peak of the late stage of heaven rank, was actually afraid of being killed by Lin Yi. Wasn't Lin Yi's strength already heaven-defying? However, Lin Yi was indeed only an expert at the early stage of heaven rank, which made Tang Yuqi very puzzled. However, since he was a detective, his brain was very good, and his logical thinking was very strong. From the short conversation between pure cold Tianzuan and Lin Yi, he could judge that Lin Yi's strength was definitely not limited to what he saw at present. Eat this small rejuvenation pill. When you recover, we will compete again. Lin Yi pointed to the small rejuvenation pill left by pure cold Tianzuan on the ground and said, "Thank you." Although half of Tang Yuqi's shoulder was broken, he could still walk. He endured the pain and nodded to Lin Yi, then picked up the small rejuvenation pill and swallowed it. Now, his injury was enough for the small rejuvenation pill, so there was no need for the great rejuvenation pill. Tang Yuqi did not say much and quickly refined the small rejuvenation pill. His injury was also under control, but his injury could not be healed in an instant. He also needed to rest for a while. Now, he definitely could not compete. You go back and rest first. Whenever you want to compete, just let me know. Lin Yi's impression of Tang Yuqi wasn't bad, but he couldn't give Lingshan to him just because of that. To tell the truth, Lin Yi had very special feelings for Lingshan, and the two of them had been through a lot together. Asking Lin Yi to give her away to someone else was evidently out of the question. There's no need to compete. However, Tang Yuqi said, Mr. Lin, I know that I'm lacking, but that's just what happened just now. Facing the expert from the everyday and everyday sect. I'm far from you. He's afraid of you. This proves that you have the strength to make him fear you. Otherwise, with his strength, there is no need for him to be so afraid, and there is no need for him to lower himself to you. But to me, he was an expert who could kill me with a wave of his hand. That's why I'm inferior to you. Ha! Lin Yi smiled. From the looks of it, Tang Yuqi wasn't a stubborn person. He was a very logical person, and after knowing the gap between them, he wouldn't continue. Ling Shan, I wish you happiness. Tang Yuqi turned to Ling Shan, this time, I'm convinced. Tang Yuqi, actually, you're a good person. Ling Shan was a little embarrassed. Alright, I've received a good person card. Tang Yuqi sighed and smiled, but, Captain Song, I still want to stay here. After all, my father is coming, and it's not very practical for me to go overseas and be a detective. You won't fire me, will you? Of course I wouldn't reject a cheap detective like you working for me. Ling Shan smiled. Since Tang Yuqi said that, naturally, Ling Shan couldn't just kick him out. If he wanted to stay, then so be it. She could see that Tang Yuqi was a man of his word. Alright, then we'll go back first. Auntie Wang, if you're not busy, why don't you come to my villa? Ling Shan knows the place. Lin Yi invited. After all, Auntie Wang had helped Lin Yi a lot back in Snowy Valley, and Lin Yi had always been very grateful to her. But now, Lin Yi knew that Auntie Wang and Tang Yuqi had just met. She'd definitely discuss things with Tang Yuqi first, and there was no way she'd leave Tang Yuqi at her house. I won't be going. I'll be going back to Snowy Valley after I'm done here. Actually, Mrs. Tang wasn't in a hurry. She just didn't want to interact with Lin Yi too much. She didn't want Lin Yi to remember things from the past. If that happened, then Tang Yun's efforts would be wasted. Alright, then we'll meet again when we have the chance. Lin Yi didn't force it. He thought that Mrs. Tang was busy. Ling Shan went back alone, and Mrs. Tang and Tang Juqing went with Tang Yuqi to find a place to catch up and discuss the matter of Juqing's brother coming back. Lin Yi, on the other hand, drove Su Shihan, Qing Yi, and Yushu back to the villa. Dongfang Xiaotsue was a woman who couldn't keep her mouth shut. After obtaining Lin Yi's forgiveness, the worry on her face disappeared. Not only that, she felt that she was very arrogant. There was no other reason. Lin Yi was famous in the ancient world, and no one dared to mess with him. Now that she was the mother of Lin Yi's follower, Feng Shipian, she seemed to have a relationship with Lin Yi, and so she felt that she was also a very arrogant person. Dongfang Xiaotsue's attitude made Feng Tianhu feel that something was wrong. He was worried about Lin Yi's matter, and suddenly seeing Dongfang Xiaotsue, who was on the same boat as him, so he felt that something was wrong. And so, when there was no one around, Feng Tianhu blocked Dongfang Xiaotsue's way. Sister-in-law, you've been very happy these days. Ah. Tianhu, you. What are you doing? Dongfang Xiaotsue was shocked by Feng Tianhu's sudden appearance. Nothing, I'm just wondering, I heard that Lin Yi is coming to teach us a lesson. Why are you still so happy? I just wanted to remind you, and we can discuss how to deal with it. Feng Tianhu said as if he was telling the truth. You're lying. Dongfang Xiaotsue didn't have any tricks up her sleeves. After being scared by Feng Tianhu, she immediately told the truth. Shipian already called Lin Yi, and Lin Yi said that he won't vent his anger on me. Even if he wants revenge, he'll go to House Dongfang first, not me. Stop scaring people. Chapter 3184. I must have misheard. Dongfang Xiaozui didn't know that Feng Tianhu was testing her, so she nodded with certainty. All right then, sister-in-law, you can continue with your work. Pretend I didn't say anything, Feng Tianhu said with a smile. Then I'll go first, Dongfang Xiaozui said and turned to leave. Feng Tianhu, on the other hand, fell into deep thought again. Many people were like this. They had no memory and forgot the pain once the scar healed. Feng Tianhu's mind started to work again when he heard that there was nothing else. Of course, he didn't want to go against Lin Yi. He didn't have the guts. The person he wanted to go against was still Feng Tianlin. He wanted to take over the position of the young master of the Feng family. Feng Tianhu was very sullen now. He talked to the everyday sect, but they didn't pay attention to him. It was obvious that they didn't think he was qualified. Someone come. Feng Tianhu yelled after returning to his room. Boss. A man in black suddenly appeared in Feng Tianhu's room. These years, Feng Tianhu had some people under him. These people were his secret forces. He didn't expose them and didn't dare to use them easily. Usually, these people were just gathering information for him. How's the thing I asked you to investigate? Feng Tianhu glanced at the man in black and asked, Did you find Feng Tianlin's previous woman? Boss, I have some clues, but I'm not sure where exactly. The man in black said, according to the investigation, the last place that woman appeared should be Songshan City, and then she disappeared, but we can't rule out the possibility that she left secretly. However, our people have been secretly investigating the woman who suddenly appeared in Songshan City in the past few years. Oh. Songshan. Feng Tianhu frowned slightly. To be honest, the two cities he was most wary of were Donghai and Songshan, since they were Lin Yi's base. If there wasn't a need to, he didn't want his people to step into these two cities and interact with Lin Yi again. But now it seemed that he had to go to these two cities again to investigate, so he said, You've done a good job, but you have to be careful. When investigating, you must avoid a person named Lin Yi. Don't get into conflict with this person. I understand, boss. The man in black nodded. The news of the ancient level has already spread. That Lin Yi can instantly kill two peak late-stage heaven rank powerhouses. We naturally won't clash with such an expert. I trust you guys. Go. Let me know as soon as you have any news, Feng Tianhu said. Yes. The black-robed man clasped his fist. Feng Tianhu, on the other hand, was deep in thought. He was waiting for a chance to bring down Feng Tianlin and Feng Nidian, but it was obvious that these two would be happy because of Lin Yi, so Feng Tianlin chose to endure it for now. Little Peach's impression of Kong Xiaobo wasn't bad. Maybe it was because of Tian Chan's reminder, but Little Peach paid special attention to Kong Xiaobo. Once a woman paid special attention to a man, and the man was very outstanding, the chances of this woman falling in love with this man were very high. There was a very high chance that this woman would fall in love with this man. This was especially true for a woman like Little Peach, who had just been emotionally hurt and wanted to walk out of the shadows. Of course, Little Peach's business ability was also very strong. Kong Xiaobo also relied on her a lot. Some of the core businesses in the company were also involved. This way, Little Peach really found out that Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company had nothing to do with the cauldron manufacturing. There was no information about the cauldrons here, and there were no production records either. What was certain was that the cauldrons weren't made here. This made Little Peach sigh in relief. After all, she didn't want to lie to Kong Xiaobo. This way, she didn't have to sell anything. Although Tian Chan would help her take some pressure, if Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company really made the cauldrons, Kong Mingming would definitely force her to steal the information. Kong bro, Little Peach's phone rang. It was Kong Ming Ming. She quickly adjusted her emotions and picked up the phone. Little Peach sis, how is it? Do you have any clues? Kong Ming Ming asked passionately. Kong bro, I'm starting to take charge of the core business of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, but I didn't find any information about the cauldron's production. I didn't see any production records either, Little Peach said. So I'm sure that this place hasn't produced any cauldrons. Kong bro, you should give up on this place, oh. No. Kong Ming Ming was a little disappointed. In fact, he could more or less guess this result. After all, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was a production line. He was sure that this cauldron was produced by House Lu's electronics factory. It was reasonable that there wasn't any information here. However, Kong Ming Ming naturally wouldn't let Little Peach give up. He didn't want her to return to the Heavenly Elixir sect. It wasn't easy to kill this person. She was an eyesore in front of him. If it affected his relationship with Little 11 and caused Elder Xianchen to be wary, then it wouldn't be worth it. So, Kong Ming Ming said directly, Little Peach, don't give up. You should continue to stay there. This cauldron might be a core secret. It can't be displayed in front of normal employees. How about this, you should continue to stay there. I think that you might need 3 to 5 years to get to know these secrets. Little Peach, if you want to be with me, you have to be prepared to be a spy for a long time. Do you understand? Okay, Kong bro, Little Peach will continue to stay here and find out more about this cauldron. Little Peach quickly nodded. However, she was very disdainful in her heart. Ever since she knew about Kong Ming Ming's ugly face, she knew that Kong Ming was just playing with her. Be with her. He just wanted her to stay away from him, so that she wouldn't interfere with Kong Ming Ming's good things. However, staying here was also Little Peach's intention. During this period of time, she had a very good impression of Kong Xiaobo. Although she knew that Kong Xiaobo had a girlfriend, Little Peach was a person from the ancient era. She didn't have the concept of monogamy. So, this didn't affect her liking for Kong Xiaobo. Chapter 3185. I know. Peach Blossom pretended to be very serious and replied. Kong Ming Ming hung up the phone with satisfaction. On Little Peach's side, she was also relieved. She put away her phone and was about to turn around and leave the secretary's office. When she turned around, she saw Kong Xiaobo standing at the door of the secretary's office with a gloomy face. Kong. President Kong. Little Peach was shocked. She stood on the spot, dumbfounded. She didn't expect that her phone call would be discovered by Kong Xiaobo. Tao Xiaohong, don't you want to explain this matter to me? Kong Xiaobo's face was very ugly. He didn't expect that his secretary was actually a spy. Who is the brother Kong on the other side of the phone? President Kong. I was wrong. I shouldn't have hidden it from you. But, I really have no malicious intent towards you and the company, not even a little bit. Little Peach cried and was at a loss. Kong Ming Ming couldn't help but frown. He didn't expect Little Peach to cry first. Kong Xiaobo was also a soft-hearted person. Like boss, like little brother. He also couldn't bear to see a woman cry. Although he was annoyed, he still comforted, Little Peach, don't cry. If you have something to say, just say it. You can't solve the problem even if you cry. President Kong. Then. Do you believe me? Little Peach wiped her tears and asked weakly. Xiaobo didn't know how to respond to Peach's question at all. He hadn't even said anything yet, and she was asking if he believed her or not. Red, tell me the whole story, and if you're not wrong, then I'll tell you what I'm going to tell you. If you are really not wrong, I naturally won't blame you, but if you really betray the company's interests, even if I rely on you, I can't let you live. President Kong, I will tell you now. Little Peach didn't hide anything. She directly told him her identity and her previous relationship with Kong Ming. Also, she told Kong Xiaobo that Kong Ming sent her to spy on the secret and played with her. When Kong Xiaobo heard the name of his cousin, Kong Ming, he was a little surprised, but he was more angry. This cousin of his was actually going against him and his boss. This person was really hopeless. The person Xiaobo hated the most in his life was Kong Xiaoming. Not only did he hurt Fen, but Kong Xiaoming as well. He even sent people to oppose him and Lin Yi. Kong Xiaobo was no longer the hot-blooded young man who impulsively wanted to go up to the rooftop with Lin Yi. He had been in the business world for so long. Naturally, Kong Xiaobo had the ability to read people. Whether Little Peach was lying or telling the truth, Kong Xiaobo could tell at a glance. Based on Little Peach's words and tone, Kong Xiaobo could basically tell that Little Peach wasn't lying. Moreover, the Kong Ming that Little Peach mentioned was very similar to his character. Blinded by greed, he was a person who put benefits above everything else. At the same time, Kong Ming also sympathized with Little Peach. This person was completely a sacrifice that Kong Ming used to climb up. It could be said that Kong Ming didn't have any feelings for her. He was just using her. After using her, he would kick her away. How can I believe you? Although Kong Xiaobo had already made a judgment in his heart, he wasn't an irrational person. He needed evidence for everything. He looked at Little Peach and asked. I have a recording of my conversation with Kong Ming. Because these are for young sect master to listen to, I recorded it. Director Kong, I can play it for you. After you listen to it, you will know Kong Ming's thoughts. My task here can be said to be completed. I should go back, but he asked me to stay here for 3 to 5 years. Is this what someone who likes me would say? 3 to 5 years, how long is that? Will he let me stay here alone? Little Peach shook her head with a bitter smile and said, Director Kong, I won't lie to you. I came here to avoid Kong Ming and start a new life. Our young sect master is a good person. He gave me this opportunity and told me that I just need to pretend to be courteous to Kong Ming. Okay, let me listen. Kong Ming nodded and signaled Little Peach to play the recording. Little Peach didn't say anything more. Instead, she played the recording of the conversation between her and Kong Ming to Kong Xiaobo. After listening to the recording, Kong Xiaobo basically believed Little Peach's words. He couldn't help but sigh slightly. He felt that Little Peach was very pitiful. At this time, he was very sympathetic to Little Peach. Perhaps it was because they were in the same boat as Lan Fun. Both of them were pitiful people abandoned by Kong Xiaoming. Little Peach, I believe you. So, your name isn't Tao Xiaohong, but Little Peach? Kong Xiaobo asked. Thank you for your trust, Director Kong. Little Peach was surprised and happy. Yes, my name is Little Peach. Tao Xiaohong is the name that the young sect master gave me. I've been a maid since I was young. I don't have any name. Your heavenly elixir sect's young sect master is an upright person. In fact, Kong Xiaobo also trusted the heavenly silkworm transformation. Back then, Kong Xiaobo also heard that the heavenly silkworm transformation had helped Lin Yi, so his impression of the heavenly silkworm transformation was still very good. If you can ask him to call me and explain this matter, then this matter will be over. You are still my secretary, and I will not pursue this matter anymore. I'll try. Little Peach didn't dare guarantee that the heavenly silkworm transformation could communicate with Kong Xiaobo for her. After saying so, Little Peach dialed Tian Chan's number. "Little Peach, what's the matter?" Tian Chan still had a lot of feelings for Little Peach. After all, she had followed her for so long. Now that she had left her side, Tian Chan would often think of her. "Young sect master, it's like this. When I was on the phone with Kong Ming, I was discovered by Director Kong," Little Peach said weakly. "Little Peach, why are you so careless? What did Kong Xiaobo say now?" Tian Chan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She didn't expect Little Peach to not be vigilant at all. Didn't she know how to avoid making a phone call? "He said that he wants you to explain to him," Little Peach said as she told Tian Chan what she had already confessed. "Okay, I'll talk to him." Tian Chan agreed readily. This surprised and delighted Little Peach. She quickly gave the phone to Kong Ming and said, "Director Kong, the young sect master wants to talk to you." "Hello, young sect master Tian." Kong Xiaobo picked up the phone nervously. After all, the other party was the young sect master of a super ancient sect. When had Kong Xiaobo spoken to such a person? Chapter 3186. In that case, she subconsciously wanted to leave a good impression in front of him. What Little Peach said is all true. I can guarantee it with my identity and status. Besides, I'm the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect. I don't think I need to lie to you. That's true. Kong Xiaobo couldn't think of any reason for the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect to lie to him. Although he couldn't rule out the possibility that the Silkworm Change and Little Peach were in cahoots, Kong Xiaobo knew that the Silkworm Change was the Silkworm Change, and Kong Ming was Kong Ming. Kong Ming wanted to deal with Lin Yi and him, but the Silkworm Change had helped Lin Yi a lot. Not only did it look for Lin Yi in the trial, but it also helped when the Dark Knight Palace was attacked. This showed the attitude of the Silkworm Change. If the Silkworm Change threatened Lin Yi and asked Lin Yi to hand over the materials of the first-grade automatic medicine cauldron, he believed that Lin Yi would definitely hand it over. Lin Yi was a person who valued kindness. If the Silkworm Change wanted the materials, it didn't need to put in so much effort. It could be done with a phone call. Why would it need to pretend with Little Peach? As for Kong Ming, Kong Xiaobo also knew that he had always wanted to deal with Lin Yi and himself, so what Little Peach said was very reasonable. As for why Kong Ming, as an elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect, didn't listen to the Silkworm Change, the reason was very simple. A big sect couldn't only have one force. Little Peach had also said that the person who supported Kong Ming was the Silkworm Change's martial uncle, who was also a strong person. So it was reasonable that the Silkworm Change couldn't fight with him head-on. Since young sect master Tian has said so, I will definitely believe you, no matter what. No matter what, you've helped my boss so much, so there's no need to lie to me. Kong Xiaobo said, however, young master Tian, do you mind if I tell boss Lin Yi about this matter? You can tell him. It's okay, Tian Chan said. Alright. Thanks for understanding. Xiaobo said with a sigh of relief. He couldn't hide this from Lin Yi even if he wanted to. If he had to keep the heavenly silkworm transformation a secret, he would have been in a difficult position. But now, there was no problem. After hanging up the phone, Kong Xiaobo only felt sympathy for Little Peach. He didn't expect Little Peach to be so pitiful, so he sighed and said, Little Peach, you're also a pitiful person, and so is my girlfriend. I'll introduce you too when the time comes. I'm sure you'll have a lot of common topics to talk about. In fact, Little Peach and Lanfen belonged to the same company. They had known each other for a long time, but they didn't have a deep relationship. After all, Little Peach was only Kong Xiaobo's secretary. She had gone to make friends with Kong Xiaobo's girlfriend. It was a little strange. But it was different when Kong Xiaobo brought it up. In fact, Little Peach also wanted to talk to Lan Fun. She had read Kong Xiaobo's information and knew Lan Fun's background. This girl's background was even more miserable than hers. Compared to her, she was nothing. Little Peach was just cheated by Kong Mingming, but Lan Fun was not only cheated, but also set up a car accident by Kong Mingming. In the end, she was even forced to jump off a building. Not only did she have mental problems, but her legs were also broken. Fortunately, she met Lin Yi and Kong Xiaobo. Otherwise, Lan Fun's life would have been ruined. The two of them were in the same boat, and Little Peach also had a good impression of Kong Xiaobo. Naturally, she had to pay a visit to Lan Fun. "Thank you, Mr. Kong. Actually, I've already read the information and know that Miss Lan was also hurt by Kong Xiaoming. If you can introduce us to each other, I'll be able to vent my frustrations." It'll be a lot easier. Little Peach didn't hide her knowledge of Lan Fun. Oh. Kong Xiaobo was slightly stunned. He didn't expect that Little Peach had already known about Lan Fun. But thinking about it, since she was sent by Kong Mingming and alarmed Silkworm Transformation must have investigated his information in advance. In this way, Kong Mingming was relieved. He nodded and said, "Then I will call Xiaofan." As Kong Xiaobo said, he picked up the phone on the desk and dialed Xiaofan's internal line. "It's me, Xiaofan." Kong Xiaobo said directly. "Xiaobo? Why are you calling me?" Xiaofan was a little surprised. Usually, at work, Kong Xiaobo would do his business and wouldn't call her directly. Even if there was business, he would let his assistant contact her. Generally, he wouldn't call her personally. "Do you have anything on your hands now?" Kong Xiaobo asked. "Not for the time being." "Why? What's the matter?" Xiaofan asked curiously. "It's like this. You know my secretary, Tao Xiaohong. Before she came to the company, there was a story. I hope you can enlighten her." Kong Xiaobo said. "Me? Enlighten her?" Xiaofan was slightly stunned. She didn't understand what Kong Xiaobo meant. How can I enlighten her? Before, she was just abandoned by Kong Mingming, that bastard. Kong Xiaobo said with a bitter smile. "What?" Xiaofan was stunned after hearing it. She didn't expect Kong Xiaobo to say this. This Tao Xiaohong actually has a relationship with Kong Mingming. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? Actually, it's like this. Kong Xiaobo briefly told Xiaofan about the matter between Little Peach and Kong Mingming. Then, he said, "Now that the young sect master of Heavenly Elixirs sect has guaranteed in front of me, there's no problem with Little Peach." "I understand. Ask her to come over," Xiaofan sighed. Xiaofan sighed. Looking at Little Peach's current state, she thought of herself in the past. However, her injuries were deeper than Little Peach's. Little Peach had only just fallen. "Okay, I'll ask her to look for you now." Kong Xiaobo nodded. Kong Xiaobo asked Little Peach to look for Xiaofan while he called Lin Yi, "Boss." "Xiaobo, what's the matter?" Lin Yi quickly picked up the phone. "Boss, it's like this." Kong Xiaobo told Lin Yi about Little Peach and his conversation with Heavenly Silkworm Transformation. Lin Yi was shocked after hearing Kong Xiaobo's words. He didn't expect Kong Mingming to reach out to him again. He didn't expect Heavenly Silkworm Transformation to be on his side. Actually, Lin Yi had always been doubtful about Heavenly Silkworm Transformation's attitude towards him. In the Heavenly Elixir sex trial, when Heavenly Silkworm transformation was making things difficult for Lin Yi, it helped Lin Yi out. These all showed that Heavenly Silkworm transformation shouldn't be his enemy. Chapter 3187. Although it was Kong Mingming's loss, the pills didn't belong to him. It should belong to Sky Elixir sect. Did the young master of Sky Elixir sect not hold a grudge against him? Or was it just as Kong Xiaobo said? There were several factions in Sky Elixir sect, and Kong Mingming's faction and Silkworm Change's faction were enemies. So the loss was probably the profits of that faction, and it had nothing to do with Silkworm Change. Lin Yi couldn't figure it out, but there were some things that Lin Yi couldn't ask Silkworm Change directly. He could only take it one step at a time. Since Silkworm Change is acting as Little Peach's guarantor, you don't have to worry about anything. Let her continue working in your company. We still have to give Silkworm Change face. Lin Yi was a grateful person, and Silkworm Change had done him a favor. No matter what, he had to trust Silkworm Change this once. Kong Xiaobo's company didn't have any core secrets. Those medicine formulas were treasures to House Kong, but they were useless to Sky Elixir sect now. If they wanted them, they could make them themselves. They didn't need to steal from Lin Yi. So from Lin Yi's point of view, Silkworm Change wouldn't be able to do anything bad to him. I understand. Kong Xiaobo nodded. After hanging up, Lin Yi called Lu Jinghan. Jinghan, I have something to tell you. Lin Yi said, then told her about Kong Mingming's plans on the first-grade automatic cauldrons. You need to be on guard here. If Kong Mingming can't find a breakthrough from Fatty Lai's side, he'll go to your side. Lin Yi bro, I know. Kong Mingming has already made his move. He's bribed a foreman of our house Lu's electronics factory, and he's stealing the factory's information. It seems like he's working on two fronts, not just Boss Lai, Lu Jinghan said. Oh. He's already made his move. You know. How did you deal with it? Lin Yi asked in surprise. I didn't deal with it. However, I've already sent people to keep an eye on Foreman Su. Lu Jinghan said, on my side, if I get rid of Foreman Su, Kong Mingming will definitely find other ways to steal the information. Instead of that, it's better to control the danger in our own hands. We just need to keep an eye on Kong Mingming and Foreman Su. Oh. Is there nothing on Foreman Su's side to steal? Lin Yi didn't expect Lu Jinghan to have already noticed this. He was relieved. Yes, that side is filled with production materials. In fact, the core technology of the first-grade automatic medical cauldron is the source code in the single-chip microcomputer. The manufacturing process and plans can actually be imitated by most high-end electronics companies through our products. It's not a problem at all. Kong Mingming can steal these things if he wants to. It doesn't matter, Lu Jinghan said. If that's the case, where did you save the source code? Lin Yi nodded and asked. The source code is in the head office. It's in the computer in the secret room of my office. No one in this secretary company knows that when the source code is written, I personally operate it. I let the company's workers place the chips on the programmer in batches and give it to me. I operate the computer in the secret room to write the program. Lu Jinghan said, although it's a bit troublesome, fortunately, the production and sales of our medical cauldrons aren't high. There are only a few a day. I can operate it myself. Each time it takes about half an hour. I can write 50 single-chip microcomputer chips in batches at the same time. That's good. Lin Yi was relieved after listening. But you have to be careful. If Kong Mingming can't get what he wants from Foreman Su, he will definitely think of other ways. Don't worry. I'll be careful, Lu Jinghan replied. On Kong Mingming's side, he spent 600,000 yuan to get the information from Foreman Su. Although 600,000 yuan wasn't a lot, Kong Mingming was quite depressed. After all, it wasted a lot of his time. All the information he got was the manufacturing process. This manufacturing process could be easily replicated by any electronics company. The circuit board inside was also very simple. There wasn't any technical difficulty in producing it. With these things, it could only be said that it was easier for Kong Mingming to copy it. It could save some time to design the mold, but it didn't help the material. That's all. Kong Mingming looked at Foreman Su with some disappointment. Boss Kong, this is all the information I can get. You see. Foreman Su looked at Kong Mingming's face and knew that he wasn't satisfied with the information he brought. However, there was no other way. Foreman Su had tried his best. Why isn't there any information about this single-chip microcomputer and the source code? Kong Mingming frowned and asked. I heard that this single-chip microcomputer isn't produced in China. The program is written by the head office. Our electronics factory isn't responsible for these. Foreman Su said with some difficulty. Oh. It's written by someone from the head office. Do you know who's responsible? Kong Mingming's eyes lit up. As long as the program was written here, it was fine. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if it had to go overseas. I'm not very sure about this. You know that I'm just a small leader in the factory. Foreman Su said, I can't find out about the head office's matters. All right. You can go back. Don't tell anyone that I'm looking for you. Do you understand? Kong Mingming said sternly, otherwise, even if I'm exposed, you won't be able to get away with selling trade secrets. I understand. Foreman Su said quickly. It's good that you understand. Kong Mingming nodded, stood up, and left. He had to find a way to find out about the Lu family's headquarters. It seemed that the source code of this single-chip microcomputer was in the hands of a few people. It was impossible for ordinary employees to know about it. However, Kong Mingming was lucky. He waited near the factory for a few days and saw the person who sent the single-chip microcomputer to the factory. This person was the one who sent the programmed microcontroller to the factory. Kong Xiaoming was able to find the person now. When this person sent the single-chip microcomputer, got in the car, and was about to leave, Kong Mingming opened the door of the front passenger seat and sat down. Bro, let's talk. Kong Mingming said with a smile. Who are you? What do you want? Let me tell you, I don't have money. I'm just delivering the goods to the company. This car is the company's bus, not mine. The person saw Kong Mingming get in the car and was shocked. He thought that Kong Mingming wanted to rob him. Chapter 3188. Let me introduce myself. My surname is Kong, and I'm here to discuss a business deal with you. Kong Mingming introduced himself. What business do you want to discuss with me? I'm just a delivery man. If you have a business deal, go talk to our company's leader. That's the job of the department manager. I'm just an employee. What's there to discuss? The delivery man was confused. Don't rush, I just want to ask you something. If you answer me, I'll give you 20,000 kuai. How's that? Kong Xiaoming said as he took out 2 stacks of cash and placed them in front of the delivery man. You. What do you mean? I'm telling you, I don't do anything illegal. I'm just a delivery man. I don't know anything. You want me to kill people and burn things down? I won't do that. The delivery man looked at the cash in front of him and was shocked. Don't worry. I'm not asking you to kill people or burn things down. I just want to ask you a question. Where did you get all these microcontrollers? Kong Ming Ming asked. That's the question. The company asked me to deliver them. You want me to answer this question and you'll give me money. The delivery man opened his eyes wide and looked at Kong Ming Ming in disbelief. Of course, that's the question. But you have to tell me, who gave you these microcontrollers? Kong Ming Ming said, which means, who wrote the program? This microcontroller was given to me by Vice CEO Lu's assistant. As for who wrote the program, I don't know. The delivery man shook his head. Vice CEO Lu. Who? Kong Ming Ming asked. It's Lu Jinghan, Vice CEO Lu. She's the leader of our Lu's group. The delivery man explained. The leader of your group? How can she be the Vice CEO? Who's your CEO? Kong Ming Ming asked curiously. Lu Jinghan was the CEO. It's like this. The CEO of our group is actually Mr. Lu Tianli. But Mr. Lu Tianli entered rehab because of drug abuse. After he came out of rehab, he's been living in a sanatorium. Vice CEO Lu is actually the same as the CEO. It's just that she hasn't officially taken up the position yet. That's to say, Lu Jinghan wrote the program in this single-chip computer. Kong Ming Ming asked. More or less, I'm not sure either. The delivery man said. Okay, the money is yours. After Kong Ming Ming got the information he wanted, he got out of the car. Now things had reached a dead end. If this program was really written by Lu Jinghan, then it would be useless for Kong Ming Ming to look for anyone but Lu Jinghan. But how could Lu Jinghan give the program to Kong Ming Ming? Kong Ming Ming pondered. He could only start with Lu Jinghan's secretary. Of course. Kong Ming Ming didn't look for Lu Jinghan's assistant directly. Usually, the assistant was Lu Jinghan's confidant. He only looked for Lu Jinghan's personal secretary. This secretary was only responsible for cleaning the office and serving tea. She did not participate in the business. So this kind of person was not Lu Jinghan's confidant, and she wouldn't earn much money. It was easier to attack. As expected, Kong Xiaoming managed to get some important information from his personal secretary. As expected, Lu Jinghan was responsible for writing the SCM. However, there was no programming device in Lu Jinghan's office. According to the long-term work observation of this personal secretary, there was a secret room in Lu Jinghan's office. This secret room could only be entered through fingerprint verification. Then this secret room, you guys have never entered it before? Kong Ming Ming asked. No, including Vice CEO Lu's assistant and business secretary. That's the forbidden area of the CEO's office. Only the former CEO Lu and the current Vice CEO Lu can enter. There's a verification, the personal secretary said. Oh. Does that mean Lu Tianli can enter as well? Kong Ming Ming suddenly thought of something and his eyes lit up. Yes, this was the former CEO Lu's office. The personal secretary said. Okay, I understand. Kong Xiaoming left after paying the fee. He didn't stay around the company anymore. Instead, he went to carry out another plan. In fact, Lu Jinghan had been monitoring Kong Ming Ming's contact with these people. Although she didn't know what Kong Ming Ming had said to these people, she didn't care. These people couldn't touch the company's core secrets. Even if Kong Ming Ming went to them, he wouldn't be able to get the source code. It would be useless. So Lu Jinghan let him do whatever he wanted. As for the employees in the company, Lu Jinghan decided to deal with them later. After Kong Ming Ming left, he went to Lu Tianli's sanatorium. This wasn't a secret. With Kong Ming Ming's connections, finding out where Lu Tianli was an easy task. In the middle of the night, Kong Ming Ming went around the people house Lu sent to watch over Lu Tianli and went straight into Lu Tianli's room. Kong Ming Ming was now a sky-class master. Although he didn't have much fighting ability, it was still a piece of cake for him to go around the guards outside the door. These days, to Lu Tianli, every day was painful. After leaving the drugs, Lu Tianli became extremely haggard. Although he wanted to continue taking drugs, he didn't have the money or the means to buy them. Although he came out of the sanatorium and stayed in the sanatorium, there were still guards sent by Lu Jinghan outside the sanatorium villa. They said it was to protect his safety, but in reality, they were watching him and not letting him leave. He wouldn't have the chance to touch drugs again. During the day, Lu Tianli could go play cards and drink with his friends in the sanatorium. He could get through it, but at night, it was hard to get through. Every time the drugs acted up in the middle of the night, Lu Tianli would be in so much pain that he had the urge to die. At this moment, Tianli's addiction was acting up, and he was panting heavily on the bed when Kong Xiaoming appeared in front of Tianli's bed without a sound. Want one? Kong Ming Ming passed a cigarette to Lu Tianli. Of course, this cigarette had been specially processed, and there were drugs in it. Kong Ming Ming had prepared it before coming. Tianli saw the cigarette and grabbed it without thinking, putting it in his mouth. Kong Xiaoming lit it up for him at the same time. Lu Tianli didn't even have cigarettes, let alone drugs. So he didn't care who Kong Ming Ming was or how he got in here. Naturally, he wouldn't let go of a cigarette to satisfy his craving. Chapter 3189. This wasn't a normal cigarette, it smelled exactly the same as the ones he used to smoke. This was a cigarette with drugs in it. Although he knew subconsciously that taking drugs wasn't right, he couldn't control himself. Besides, he didn't have anything now. Living in the sanatorium every day was boring, so he might as well just throw it away and enjoy himself for as long as he could. Good, this is satisfying. Tianli praised. He was as happy as a god after finishing the cigarette. Mr. Lu, do you want another? Kong Ming Ming smiled and placed a pack of cigarettes in front of Tianli. You. Who are you? How did you get in here? Why do you have drugs? Tianli looked at the pack of cigarettes in Kong Ming Ming's hand, his eyes filled with greed. But he wasn't stupid. He knew that Kong Ming Ming wouldn't be here just to give him cigarettes for no reason. There had to be some other reason. Who I am isn't important. What's important is that I can provide you with a lot of these cigarettes. Kong Ming Ming said with a smile. Why? What do you want? Tianli needed cigarettes, but he knew that there was no free lunch in this world. Mr. Lu is a smart man. You should be able to enter the secret room in the CEO's office, right? Kong Ming Ming asked. The secret room in the CEO's office. You mean the Lu's group? Tianli asked, but his eyes were on the cigarettes that Kong Ming Ming had placed on his bedside table. Have another one if you want. Kong Ming Ming said as he handed the cigarette over again. After Tianli took another puff, he said, That's right, the secret room in the CEO's office. You can go in, why do you ask? Tianli was confused why Kong Ming Ming was asking about the secret room. There was nothing in there, just a computer and a bed. This was where Tianli used to rest when he was frustrated. Otherwise, who would leave something valuable in the company? It wasn't like the Lu family didn't have secret rooms to store things in. Bring me in later. As a reward, I will give you 10 cartons of cigarettes. They are all like this. Kong Ming Ming pointed at the cigarettes on the table and said. 10. Tianli paused. He knew that Kong Ming Ming going to the company's secret room wouldn't be a good thing, but his desire won out over his rationality. He needed drugs. 10 cigarettes was enough for him to have fun for a while, and the pleasure he got from smoking just now made him extremely happy. But Tianli was a successful businessman after all, and he knew how to bargain. 30. He raised the price directly. If Kong Xiaoming wanted to go to the secret room, then he must have a plan. Although Tianli Lu didn't think that there was anything important in the secret room, he still tried to test the waters by stating his conditions. Sure. Kong Xiaoming didn't even think about it. The drugs were rare, but it wasn't expensive for Kong Xiaoming. It was just 50 cigarettes. It was a drop in the ocean compared to the reward. Tianli saw that Kong Ming Ming agreed so quickly, and he knew that his condition wasn't enough. You have to give me some upfront, otherwise how can I trust you? Now. Kong Xiaoming paused for a moment. Sure, they're all in my car. Actually, I prepared 40 of them. If things go smoothly, I can give them all to you. I don't have them anyway, I don't take drugs. All right. Tianli was happy again. You want to go to the secret room? Let's go now. But there are guards at the door, can you hide? Sure. Kong Xiaoming nodded and replied casually. With that, he grabbed Tianli and jumped out of the window, disappearing into the night. Tianli was surprised and happy as he watched his body fly up into the air, landing a few hundred meters away from the villa. You're a practitioner. Yes, I'm a sky-class master. Kong Ming Ming said. So you should know that I have no reason to lie to you. If I wasn't afraid of being discovered, I would have just destroyed the secret room's mechanism by force. It wasn't that Kong Ming Ming hadn't thought of doing that, but he was afraid that he'd be discovered when he was destroying the mechanism. If that happened, he'd have to run first, and there wouldn't be a second chance. That was why he brought Tianli here. Hearing that Kong Ming Ming was a sky-class master, Tianli was shocked. He nodded. All right, if that's the case, let's go. The two came to a car, and Kong Ming Ming opened the trunk, showing the cigarettes inside to Tianli. Tianli got in the car, satisfied, and followed Kong Ming Ming to the Lu group. The Lu group's security was good, but these people were all masters of the common world. It was impossible for them to guard against a sky-class master like Kong Ming Ming. Kong Ming Ming brought Tianli and flew into the washroom with the window open, going upstairs to the CEO's office. Lu Jinghan didn't change the lock, so Tianli easily opened the CEO's office door with his key. Jinghan didn't expect Tianli to come to this place again. After all, Tianli was still the old CEO in name, but he'd already retired to the sanatorium. Why would he come back? After entering the office, Tianli flipped open one of the murals in the office with familiarity. Behind the murals was a fingerprint recognition device. Tianli keyed in the password and verified the fingerprint, and the door to the secret room opened slowly. Because Tianli entered the office and opened the door to the secret room through the proper way, the security measures weren't activated at all. It was like Jinghan coming here alone at night. As long as Jinghan didn't purposely look at the security cameras, she wouldn't notice anything. All right, the door is open. Do what you want to do as soon as possible. If someone finds out, neither of us will have a good ending. Tianli reminded. Kong Ming Ming nodded. I know that even if you don't remind me. I'll do it as soon as possible. Chapter 3190. However, Kong Ming Ming wasn't interested in this programmer at all. Even if he took it away, it wouldn't be of much use. He didn't have this kind of MCU, and he wouldn't be able to produce it. What he needed to do was to copy the source files from the MCU, analyze them, and write them into a MCU that he could buy. This would replace the original MCU and act as a simulation. Kong Ming quickly turned on the computer and entered the system. Because this was a secret room, Lu Jinghan didn't set a password. After all, she didn't expect anyone to be able to enter the secret room. Of course, even if she did set a password, she could still use the USB drive to bypass the original system and copy the data inside. Soon, Kong Ming found a folder called Cauldron Source Program in Lu Jinghan's D drive. Kong Ming opened it and saw the single version, 10-in-1, and 5-in-1 source files. Kong Ming quickly inserted the USB drive into the computer and copied the source files out. From the looks of it, this computer was used to write programs. Other than the programmer's driver, there was nothing else. Kong Xiaoming also copied the programmer's driver. Although he couldn't copy the MCU in the cauldron, he could use the programmer's driver to analyze the general parameters of the MCU and find a replacement MCU chip. After copying everything, Kong Ming turned off the computer and pulled out the USB drive. He said to Tianli, "Mr. Lu, let's go." "Oh. It's done." Tianli didn't know what Kong Ming had copied, but he didn't have the time to think about it. His mind was filled with the 40 cartons of cigarettes. After locking the office door, Kong Ming brought Tianli back the way they came. Kong Ming didn't lie to Tianli. After sending him back, he gave the 40 cartons of cigarettes to Tianli and left Yanjing City quietly, returning to the Sky Elixir sect. With these programs, it wasn't easy for Benjamin Tu to find a replacement chip after making some modifications, but it wasn't too difficult either. After a few days of hard work, he finally found a replacement chip that could mimic the original chip's function. As for the cauldron itself, although Kong Xiaoming had gotten the production process information from Supervisor Su, the titanium alloy used in the cauldron wasn't smelted by this factory. It was imported from a place called X Island. Kong Xiaoming didn't know the process of smelting it. But this wasn't a problem for Benjamin Tu. He used an ordinary first-grade cauldron, combined with the assembly process provided by Su Gongming, and actually created an automatic cauldron made from an ordinary first-grade cauldron. This modified product had the same function as an automatic cauldron. Although the cost was higher because it was a real first-grade cauldron, but compared to the price of this cauldron, the cost was still very low. When the Xianchen ancestor and Kong Ming heard the good news, they were all smiles. "Father-in-law, it seems like this time, we can attack Lin Yi again. Once our cauldron goes on the market, we'll break Lin Yi's monopoly. At that time, we'll sell it at a slightly lower price. This way, people will come to buy our cauldron," Kong Ming said. "And, not only are we cheap, but the Sky Elixir sect is also a long-established alchemy sect. I believe those alchemists will know who to choose when the time comes." The Xianchen ancestor was also very confident about the product that was about to go on the market. "Okay, mass-produce the finished product as soon as possible, and we'll put it on the market," the Xianchen ancestor said decisively. "But, father-in-law, we don't have any funds now. The money is used to refine first-grade elixirs. There are still so many elixirs in the warehouse," Kong Ming said with some difficulty. "Doesn't the Cultivator Trade Association provide loans? Let's go there to borrow some. Anyway, we can earn back the money quickly," the Xianchen ancestor said after thinking about it. "Okay, I'll go now." Kong Ming was also confident about the first-grade automatic cauldron. After all, he had seen Lu Jinghan's sales. If he could get 1/3 of the market, he could make a lot of money and make up for the previous losses. On this day, a major event happened in the cultivation world. The first-grade intelligent cauldron produced by the Sky Elixir sect went on the market. The so-called first-grade intelligent cauldron was actually the same thing as the first-grade automatic cauldron. The two had different approaches but achieved the same result. The only difference was the name. Kong Ming Ming was also very smart. He did not produce those single edition and 5-in-1 cauldrons. Instead, he directly produced a 10-in-1 limited edition fine cauldron. He knew that if he wanted to seize the market, he could only snatch the market share from Lin Yi by producing and selling such rare products. In any case, this thing was not developed by Kong Ming Ming. He only cared about the immediate benefits, not the long-term benefits. In his opinion, this kind of imitation business would not last long. After the sales war between the two parties started, the price of the cauldron would definitely become cheaper and cheaper. When that time came, the profits would also decrease. In this case, it was better to sell as much as possible from the beginning. This 10-in-1 cauldron was usually sold for around 1.5 billion in the Cultivator Trade Association. However, when Kong Ming Ming's 10-in-1 cauldron went on the market, it was sold for a discounted price of 999,990,000. The aristocratic families and sects were not stupid. If there was a bargain, they would naturally choose the cheap one. Moreover, if they went to the Cultivator Trade Association to auction it, they might not be able to get it. On the other hand, the Sky Elixir sect sold it 24/7. It was obvious which one was better. Therefore, on the first day that the Sky Elixir sect's 10-in-1 intelligent cauldron went on the market, 3 were sold. That was close to 3 billion. After deducting the manufacturing cost, there was a net profit of 2 billion. It was a good business with a small capital but great profits. The people from the Cultivator Trade Association were dumbfounded when the Sky Elixir sect's medicinal cauldron went on the market. The people from the Liu family were also dumbfounded. They did not expect that the other party would also have a medicinal cauldron with the same function on the market. Although the Sky Elixir sect claimed that it was their latest and exclusive development, anyone with a discerning eye could see that it was a complete imitation of Lin Yi's first-grade automatic cauldron. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.